into rigged poker games backed by the mafia.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This hour is brought to you by Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Wyman and Bob.
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman here with you. We have a lot to talk about with the Mariners' end-of-season pressers. I know Shannon Drayer was just on with Bump and Stacy. She's going to join us later, help us unpack everything we heard from Justin Hollander, Dan Wilson, Jerry DiPoto, all of that. So we got a lot of Seahawks to talk about as well. Big Ray will join us at 4, Bob Condotta at 3. But all of that just, I don't know, overshadowed, I guess, in the sports world. Dave, you and I were sitting. We were going to be late for the show because we were just trying to read all the lurid details of this saga, this mafia-backed rigged poker game, gambling into NBA games involving Chauncey Billups, and now he has been tied to some information about the Blazers not playing their starters, and just this sprawling, wide-ranging saga that ensnarls a current NBA head coach.
It's unbelievable. And as much and as important as that is to unpack, we have to do one thing first. Today is Mike Lefko's birthday.
Oh.
And so Matt and I went to great lengths to get you. If you could see on the, hold it up proudly.
What did
There we
Charlie
go.
Furbush describe it as yesterday? My child snacks and Mountain Dew.
He's
and
got red vines and a Mountain Dew. And
Thank you, Matt.
Matt put a nice little special bow on it there. So, yeah, we want to make sure that we properly.
I appreciate the delivery system there.
It was like whatever was laying around around Matt's desk. That's what he put on there. There we go.
There we go.
Don't say we never got you anything.
Another reason to watch the video stream.
There we
That's
go.
what we were promoting yesterday.
That's right.
You watch on YouTube, you watch on seattlesports.com, and you see red vines and Mountain Dew.
Yeah. If you want to see a guy who just turned 12, according to what he eats there, Mike Lefko, happy birthday, man.
Thank you. 12 going on 14, Dave. Come on.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Just, a lot happening today.
Well, have a good day today, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, happy birthday.
Who would you rather spend it with than you and Matt Nelson?
I'm
for
sure
4
that we would
hours?
be your first choices, no question.
I don't think we want you to answer that, Lefko.
And my
Anyway.
present to you, Matt, is you have that room to yourself. So thank you. I appreciate the red vines, Mountain Dew. I'll sit in here with Dave and bother him for 4 hours.
Yeah,
It's
sit in
everything
there.
I ever wanted.
Yeah, chatter from Lefko back there. Anyway, so happy birthday. And then this is like, did you ever think the word mafia would make it into the
No,
snapshot?
I didn't realize what era we were living in.
I know.
Like, what year is this?
this like
What
the
century is this?
The 60s,
Yeah.
70s maybe. But yeah, I mean, this is unbelievable. And you and I were just like speculating, like for Rozier, the player, and then Chauncey Billups, like where did they get arrested? Did they? I mean, was it right outside after practice, or I mean, it's unbelievable. But
Yeah, the Blazers have played a game already, and they have a game tomorrow.
yeah,
So it would have been funny that you and I were throwing out the funniest places that he could have been arrested. Like in the middle of a press conference, right before tip-off, after the game ended, and the media goes in to ask questions, and there's the FBI instead to lead him away in handcuffs.
Well, I mean, this is kind of interesting also, just, the big picture view, for me anyway, is, we've talked a little bit about what would bring the NFL down. So, for example, NBA's right up there as far as, a sport and an organization that, a lot of people pay a lot of attention to and spend a lot of money on. But what would bring down, and we even speculated about morbid things like what if somebody died on the field? That almost happened actually. But yeah, I mean, I think what it is if the fix is in. I mean, if there's some manipulation by gambling organizations and, that you have guys taking money or whatever, I mean, and there were, there's a whole wide-ranging story of like guys that decided to just like have a supposed injury and sit out of a game, and that kind of information was being shared with certain gamblers. I mean, yeah, that would be the one thing I think that would, and I don't think it's ever obviously going to happen with football, but I mean, that would be the one thing.
Well, and now this year alone, we've seen allegations into gambling in MLB. Emmanuel Clase and a couple other Guardians were suspended or placed on whatever the official name is, administrative leave or whatever that title is, because of a gambling investigation into potentially tipping or doing something where he purposefully threw a ball on the first pitch of certain innings or certain at-bats. And now this in the NBA. Yeah, the NFL, perhaps because there are so many things that have to happen with 11 players on each side, so many things that take place on a given play or down. We haven't seen it yet, but it has become more pervasive across every sport, and it's getting concerning. I mean, this is a high-profile current NBA head coach who at first you thought, we had to read and unpack all this, it just seemed like he was part of the high-stakes rigged poker games, which I encourage everyone to read about that afterwards, after you listen to us. Because the amount of sophistication and technology they used is literally something out of a movie.
It's like
X-ray
Ocean's 11 you
cameras,
mentioned, right?
yeah, sunglasses that relayed information, a guy off-site that was named the quarterback who would send text and things like that, and whole card cameras, and then one guy who was the lackey, the one who didn't know what was happening. So like, okay, well, Chauncey Billups, that's not a good look. Now more has come out that he actually was involved in the basketball part of the gambling. And as a current head coach, I mean, not great. Not great for this sport right now.
That's terrible. And then, the other thing that I always look at sort of philosophically is like, and I have no idea. You type in something in the internet, it spits something back out. I was like, oh, I wonder what his net worth is. What's Chauncey Billups worth? It's like $35 million. I'm like, okay, isn't that enough, Chauncey? But, but I think more than anything, it's the thrill of the gambling part of it and how it can, and the other thing too is sometimes, you talk about how, like, if you're chasing wealth, it's like a hole that you'll never fill. And, it's never enough. And so, but yeah, I mean, it just, the NBA, it'll be really interesting to see how much more comes out, because it wasn't just certain guys sitting out of a game. Now this whole poker thing, and we have, organized crime involved. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, that's a story I think that's going to be very interesting as it unfolds.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Yeah, and I was also, before we get on to like Mariners and everything, I was thinking at what point, like, that more heads are going to fall, right? I mean, this is just the top end. It'll be really interesting to see who else is involved in this whole gambling scam.
Two important points though on what we were talking about before we move on to the Mariners. 360. After you guys gave me those gifts, they're asking, where's the wax cheese? Well, Shannon Drayer was just in here. We should have asked her where my birthday present was in the form of wax cheese. She'll join us on the phone later, so maybe, I don't know, somehow she'll relay that towards me. And then Mike from Squim says, Dave, 2 days in a row with a new T-shirt, you're paying him too much. That one's not new, though.
Well, you think I was going to wear the same shirt as yesterday? Yeah.
You've worn that before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
part of the rotation. Mike.
All right. We got the important things out of the way. Yeah. Now we get to kind of literally the end of the Mariners season. So a few hours ago, Justin Hollander, Jerry Dipoto, and Dan Wilson had kind of some informal media scrums. Just kind of were there, available to have questions asked to them. And what struck me, and you can hear it a little bit in some of these sound bites, but you kind of have to see the video of it, the raw emotion still there.
Yeah.
We knew it was a painful loss of the season, but just, still dealing with that 3 days later, in the answers and looking at their demeanors, their eyes. I'm sure not a lot of sleep has happened over these past few days, but that mourning phase that is still very much in play for the Mariners. And, I kind of got to wondering, all right, how do you let the mourning phase take its course, but then move past it? Because at some point, you don't want this to linger into another season. You and Bob and everyone here have always brought up that the Seahawks, the issue was that post-Super Bowl and the traumatic loss there, it definitely led into next season. I mean, it led to the breakup of that group. So not to say that personalities of this Mariners team will be similar, that they will go into a tailspin, but how do you not let that affect you going into next season and still properly kind of mourn what this season was?
Well, I mean, look, you go through like the stages of grief and all that. What was the one yesterday you were bringing up? And you're like, I don't even know what the phases are, but whatever.
It's like anger, acceptance, or reckoning.
Whatever. But look, I mean, that's going to be a long time from now. When they get, and that was Ryan Dempster that said, hey, this might be one of those for a team that hasn't been there for a really long time. This might be one of those events that like causes guys to like next Monday go back in the weight room and start working. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a proper amount of mourning, right? Like you've got to go through that process, no question. And then, probably watching the World Series. I don't know how many guys will watch it, but I would think probably a lot of guys would be very interested in that. But then, and then once that all gets resolved, and then maybe another week. This is a good group of guys, man. This is the thing I've told people about. They talk to me if they're from another city, whatever. What about the Seahawks, this and that? And love the Seahawks, obviously know a bunch of people down there and all that. But this Mariner team, the guys on the field were just special. Everybody really, really loved them. And when Cal says, he doesn't care about anything else than winning a World Series, you believe it. And, he has that kind of character. So I think, he kind of, look at Josh Naylor, how intense that guy is every single night. So I think they have the right personalities. And I've told a lot of people, like, hey, this is the easiest team to root for ever, just because there are no jerks. They all are, have a singular goal. They're all good people. I love that team. And that was one of the things I was most upset about, is that they couldn't keep going, just because, we've talked to Logan Gilbert and, Brian Wu and the guys in the bullpen. I mean, everybody, they're just excellent dudes. They really are. And they deserve it. And they're high character guys too. And high character guys will go through that process, and then they'll come back and, be a little pissed off.
I think also kind of hurts, you didn't really get closure on, and we'll play a lot of the sound today and throughout the next couple of weeks. Certainly we'll get Shannon's insight because she was there, but it was such a strange feeling leaving after Game 5. And I kind of pointed this out to Shannon after we got done with postgame, that you're leaving on this ultimate high. The Mariners had won on the Geno Grand Slam. They go up 3-2 in the series. But there was no guarantee that they would be back in this ballpark playing. A 3-2 series lead doesn't always hold. You didn't know it at the time that it wouldn't. But just leaving that building, I kind of thought, it's going to be tough to summon up the proper emotion to how to leave this ballpark for the final time if that was it. If you left the ballpark after this biggest win, but then you didn't come back, which meant the season ended in 2 games on the road, and it did. So I think that probably adds to it, that all these fans who were here, who celebrated in that city, and all the players in the front office, that when they left Seattle on Friday, it was on the ultimate high, somewhere that you had never been. One win from the World Series. You did that at home, and you didn't really get closure on a season coming to an end, because it ended on a high at home, but then ultimately ended on the road. Right. And it's such a strange dissonance to kind of bring back together. So that's just something that kind of summed it up when I was just kind of listening and watching the interviews with Justin Hollander and Jerry DiPoto especially. But here was Justin on just kind of the raw feeling that their group is still experiencing right now.
It definitely leaves you feeling hollow, somewhere in between where Cal was at post-game after Game 7 and like where Giannis was at a couple years ago, where he talked about there's no failure in sports. Like, I'll start to move along that spectrum over the next few days and weeks, from feels very much like a failure to thinking about big picture where we are and the steps we took this year, but it's hard right now.
Yeah, kind of, the monotonous answers, all of that. And, how about Dan Wilson, that he's got to live with the decision? And, he was asked about that in the moment as well. And he kind of, I'll get to this part. He was asked how he's handling the criticism and all the fallout from Game 7.
As a manager, you're responsible for that, and you have to wear it in some ways, and we'll continue to assess, and you're always looking to get better and do the things that it takes to get better, and we will continue to do that. But it's frustrating, and it really is something that stings, and will continue to sting for a while.
So, Dave, when you've had seasons come to an end in tough fashion, or you've had disappointment, what was key to the bounce back? Was it player-led leadership? Was it a coach or a manager being the one that carried that group through. How do you think this team, what combination needs to happen of, the players among themselves or that front office or Dan Wilson kind of being the steadying force to get them through this?
Yeah, I think it's about the veterans. And I guess the first guys I think about when you talk about that, getting past it, going through the whole mourning process, really I think about two people. And it's kind of interesting because one of them came here, halfway through, or not quite halfway through, but at the deadline, Josh Naylor. And I think a guy like that who is very serious, you could see how invested he was in, and I'm sure everybody was, but there's just an intensity about Josh Naylor that I feel like, but to answer your question, first of all, I think it's the players. Mm-hmm. And then the other guy obviously being Cal. And then, maybe a guy like Luis Castillo or, one of the pitchers. And I don't know how much those guys speak up, but yeah, no, in all the situations that I've been in that weren't, nearly that magnitude, but it was always the guys, getting back in the weight room, talking about, hey, we're gonna get further next year, and every year you go in thinking, hey, we've got the kind of guys to, and at least for me anyway, maybe I was hopelessly optimistic, but I would look around and go, we got the guys to do it, but you're always thinking about, look, we want to win the very last game. And that's, I think, the case for everyone. But, you got 29 other teams that are trying to do exactly the same thing. Well, maybe not like the Pirates or, but some of the teams that sort of.
Not the Rockies. But
Rockies.
Most of them, sure.
Yeah. But, I mean, for the most part, you always look around and go, hey, we got the guys to do that. And that will happen. But, I mean, right now, it's just, until the baseball season ends, I don't think that, they're going to get over this sort of hangdog type of feeling like, that you got beat and you should be there.
The one thing I also thought of, the old Syracuse coach and a guy rest in peace, Greg Robinson. After one of the losses when he was the coach of Syracuse, he had this comment that kind of got made fun of because it was over-exaggerated and over the top because, Greg Robinson was a little corny. You've talked about that.
He was very corny.
He was very corny.
Okay.
So he said one time, we got to feel it for 24 hours. And then everyone made fun of him for that. So, but, it's kind of like that where, hey, there will be a period you need to sit with this and accept it and realize we were not good enough. And Justin Hollander talked about that throughout his interview. I think Jerry DiPoto said that as well. I haven't had time to listen fully to all of Jerry DiPoto yet. But all of these comments sit with the Mariners. And like Ryan Dempster said, and you mentioned, there might be that extra oomph, that 1%. That's been the Mariners' motto, 1%, to get 1% better. Where's that 1% that can make the difference? I think you've discovered now you have that extra something you might not have known you had, whether it is that extra rep in the weight room. If you're tired and you can't get another press up on the bench press, you find it in yourself. I don't know what specific drills like Cal might do to get better, but something like that, or you get back to throwing, or you do whatever you might not have had the motivation to do to push yourself. And maybe that's in season as well. Guys, that they summon up some extra reserve in the playoffs. We saw it through all these relievers who were called on every single night, and they summoned something that wasn't there in the regular season because they had to. Perhaps that's there again next year.
Well, and also, how about this? The urgency of, because I remember they started out the season and Dan Wilson kind of brought this up to the team that like every game matters. Yeah. Right. And that was kind of their motto. And, so they might look back on, that road trip, at the end. Look, ultimately they got the number 2 as far as playoff position goes. So I guess there's not a whole bunch more you could do other than get number 1, obviously. But, maybe that is something that they think about more next year as far as, the urgency and that's the thing about it, especially in baseball. I mean, I'm sure there are times you're like, I don't feel like playing baseball. It's 162 games, but that's something that maybe will be in the front of their minds next year, having gone through and gotten so close.
A good question brought up by one of our texters. So if you were wondering where you could watch these interviews, they're up on our Seattle Sports YouTube page. We have the video of Dan Wilson Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander. We're going to play a lot of what they said throughout the show as well. But yes, if you do want to see and kind of understand that raw emotion and the pain that's still lingering on all these guys' faces, check that out on our Seattle Sports YouTube page. They all spoke earlier today, and that was kind of the final end-of-year press conferences. So that's the wrap on the public comments. We'll hear from them to sum up this 2025 season. Certainly a lot to talk about. They'll be available at times when we get to winter meetings and throughout the offseason, but that was kind of the wrap on the 2025 Mariners season. So for now, we'll keep talking about it. We'll keep breaking it down, but let's take two. Dave, some accolades coming in for the Mariners, at least for the finalists of an award. The Silver Slugger finalists were announced today. Julio, Jorge Polanco, and Cal have been named finalists for the Silver Slugger. Winners will be announced on November 7th. Cal was a finalist last year. He did not win the award, but pretty cool to see Julio, who's already won it a couple of times, another finalist award. Jorge Polanco as well. And then I don't think this is an official award, certainly not one by MLB or the BBWA, but Sporting News Magazine named Dan Wilson their Manager of the Year.
How about
so I guess
that?
there's one official award kind of that has been won by the Mariners.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because I know everybody is on Dan, about the way that he managed that last game and whatever, down to the one decision that he made. And, maybe people think it's more than that. But, like, if you step away from it and if you're in, like, another Major League Baseball city, you go, yeah, that guy did a really good job. They haven't been to the, playoffs in a couple of years. They've never been to an ALCS, not since, 2000, or actually ever, right?
What?
The ALCS.
Well, they had never gotten 3 wins in the ALCS.
Yeah, okay, there you go. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously never won a World Series. So, this is, I think it's going to be interesting to see, how much more appreciation there is for Dan Wilson. But how about Jorge Polanco? I mean, and Julio too, really. Julio, I think the big thing for him next year is going to be he's got to figure out how to get started faster. But maybe the same thing for Jorge because, man, he started off on fire and then he cooled off for a month and a half, 2 months, and then he was money during the playoffs.
We'll talk about that as well. So we're going to talk about Josh Naylor in this opening segment, kind of move that to later in the show, along with Jorge Polanco, because Naylor is obviously the big question, the big priority that was thrown out. Everyone had an answer about that, from Jerry to Justin and Dan, so we'll talk about that. Polanco has a player option, but it's widely expected he turns that down after the season he had, so he is likely going to be a free agent. And we'll talk about both of those guys and the chance of re-signing them. But another story that we already kind of talked about, the Chauncey Billups strange saga. We already kind of pieced through that, so that's not the second take two. The second take two, Dave, is just that the Blue Jays have named their starter. It's a rookie. It's Trey Savage. The Mariners saw him a couple of times. The World Series starts tomorrow. Game 1, Blue Jays and Dodgers. And I guess from a Mariners perspective, you kind of spin this, and there was all this excitement about their top draft pick this year, Cade Anderson, and what the expectations might be into next year. Uh-huh. It seems crazy and far-fetched to think, well, could a guy that just got drafted make an impact next year? Hey, Trey Savage is showing you can get up to the majors pretty quickly. And even if you don't get there until the end of the season, you might make an impact in the postseason. So, hey, if you want to find some way to spin this into a positive, perhaps all the excitement about Cade Anderson could pay off as soon as next season.
Yeah, and for him to come in those situations, definitely high leverage, and he got hit around that first the first start that he had in the series, where he gave up 5 earned runs in 4 innings, but he came back pretty strong with a 5 2/3. But yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I like everything we're going to do is going to be comparing, to the Mariners, and maybe that they get something like that out of one of their young guys, because typically it takes a while, but every once in a while you see a rookie like Savage that just was just blowing people's doors off. Guy's only 22 years old.
Yeah. Take Two is brought to you by Swedish Cyberknife. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish Cyberknife. Swedish.org/cyberknifeprostate. Well, an obvious trade candidate for the Seahawks might not be so obvious anymore. We're going to talk about that coming up next. Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman with you. Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
ESPN senior MLB insider Jeff Passan with Brock and Salk.
If you are in the Mariners front office, what are you spending your offseason focusing on?
This feels like a beginning, not an end. I see this being the beginning of the best run in the history of this franchise. The sheer number of really good prospects that the Mariners have lead me to believe that they're going to be in this position again.
Get more on the Seattle Sports YouTube page and the Seattle Sports app.
Eric Johnson here. I spent the past 30 years working to help make our community better informed, better protected when it comes to consumer issues, and better equipped to take on whatever life throws at us. That's why I love the free Washington Accident book series from Davis Law Group. These books keep us better informed about the law, better able to protect ourselves on and off the road, and better off when all is said and done after an accident. Chris Davis didn't have to write these books. He did it because he saw a need. People who were in accidents or other legal situations didn't know what to do, what pictures to take, documents to request. Only a tiny fraction of the people who get these free books will ever become clients of Davis Law Group, but that's not the point. Chris wrote them because it was the right thing to do. The free Washington Accident book series is a must-have for drivers who want to be prepared for whatever the road might throw at them. Get yours at WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
If you use carpool or toll lanes along SR 167 without a Good-to-Go account, you'll now receive a bill in the mail. That is a change. A Good-to-Go pass saves $2 on every toll. That is not a change. Learn more at goodtogo167.com.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
Hey, it's Dr. Coogan with Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, and it's time to make the final push to the end of the year. Do you want to lose weight, improve your health, and have more energy? We have a proven system and a team of health coaches that have helped over 4,000 people in Washington lose up to 10 to 20% of their body weight in just 8 weeks without expensive injections or uncomfortable side effects. No gimmicks, no tricks, no drugs, just teaching you how to become a fat-burning machine and keep it off long-term. Visit eastsideweightlossclinic.com now to schedule your free consultation.
Yeah, it's Mike Salk here, and just like writing that essay back in high school or maybe in college, starting, that can be the hardest part. Well, Eastside Weight Loss Clinic makes it as easy as possible. They helped me lose 35 pounds in just 60 days. A no-pressure, free 15-minute phone consultation. See if it's right for you, and if it is, you got nothing to lose but the weight itself.
Many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two, and you can do our program remotely from anywhere you live. Schedule your free consultation at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. That's eastsideweightlossclinic.com.
Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Pros don't just show up. They prove how it's done, with precision and without shortcuts. Makita tools are built the same way, with a dedication to lasting quality, trusted performance, and results that reward your effort year after year. When the job calls for the best, call on Makita. Built to be the best. Available at the Home Depot.
Want more Seahawks content? Join me, G. Scott, on The Reset. New episodes of the podcast every Monday and Thursday on YouTube or on the Seattle Sports app.
I had pain, I had numbness in my feet. That pain and that numbness just got worse and worse and worse as time went on.
This is Greg describing life with neuropathy.
I went to 5 podiatrists, tried different treatments, tried different orthotics, tried different shoes, had cortisone shots in the tops and the bottoms of my feet. Saw a neurologist. All my medical doctors said, can't help you. Live with the pain. You're not going to be able to sleep. This is your life. And then I just gave up until I found Sound Pain Solutions.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. Our neuropathy treatments can rehabilitate damaged nerves. We use FDA-cleared, non-surgical, drug and pain-free procedures that help neuropathy sufferers like Greg find relief.
I feel better. I mean, just feeling better is huge.
If you experience numbness, shooting or burning pains, or loss of balance, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025, or click soundpainsolutions.com.
From whiplash to herniated discs, there are a few car accident injuries we've all heard of. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains that even the most common injuries differ from one another.
Pre-existing conditions, health history, beginning of treatment. There are hundreds of factors that make every person and every injury unique. While these variables aid medical treatment, the strongest case recoveries must also take them into account.
Could you explain a little bit more?
Our team at Pendergast Law is obsessed with turning over every stone to differentiate each case. This requires thorough investigation, diligent listening, and relentless research. We never pursue cases with a one-size-fits-all approach. We built our success by treating every injury and every case with the individualized attention our clients need and deserve.
Pendergast Law's individualized approach to even the most common injuries makes the difference in case outcomes. It's another reason why I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
This hour is brought to you by Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund.
Wyman and Bob.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Dave, the trade deadline's coming up in the NFL, November 4th. We'll see if you're still here after that. Just waiting for him to get
that's a good one, Mike. Yeah. I'm reeling because Joe in Bellevue said, we did the whole thing about the mafia and guys on the take, and he said, seeing how many missed tackles Dave Wyman had in his career, he must have been on the take. I said, it's not Friday, Joe.
It is your Friday, though.
But it is, because I won't be here tomorrow.
There you go. Good
go
job.
ahead.
Joe
Let
knew.
me have it.
Yeah, all right. Hey, if you do have any mean texts, you can get them in right now for Dave, 866-979-3776.
You're very eager about that. Yeah.
Well, you know what? We hadn't done it for the past 2 Fridays. Because the past 2 Fridays, we had done the Mariners expanded playoff show.
That's right.
So just all baseball expanded pregame lead up to the official Mariners pregame. None of the Wyman and Bob segments. So it's been about a month since we've done mean text. So yes, tomorrow I'm here. Brian Walters is here. Dave is not. So I guess you can get him in now.
Yeah.
Well, they'll get him in when you aren't here anyway, so don't worry about it.
Wait,
But
when's B. Walt coming in?
tomorrow
Oh, nice.
and Monday.
Okay.
Because you and Bob are still gone.
Cool.
There's our schedules for everyone to know there. Yeah,
There you
you guys are gone for the next couple days. They'll be back mid next week. But myself, Brian Walters, Matt's still here, I think. He hasn't gotten sick of us yet.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, but I think I am.
Yeah.
Matt has to be here. He doesn't want to
We
be.
just
but he'll be
assume you
here.
don't want to be here, Matt. I mean, come on.
So
We
that's
don't
the
need that
layout
part.
there. That was a good one. That's a great mean text.
Yeah.
Maybe one of
That
the
was-
best we've
that was
had
pretty
this
good.
month. So there you go. Yes, the
I
trade
was also
deadline.
traded, by the way.
Yeah.
I failed the physical, got shipped back to Seattle. You know that story, but yeah, I mean, looking at Riq Woolen and the November 4th deadline, I think he'd probably be. I think it's kind of interesting what they're doing, and I don't know if they're doing a little cat and mouse game or whatever, but it was interesting that last week Mike McDonald talked about what a good job Riq Woolen is doing, and I think what he meant was during practice, because he's been engaged and everything, but I think Riq's been one of those guys you could look at this 2 ways. One way is that Mike McDonald is a really good coach, and I feel like he sees it as like a personal challenge. And he talked about this during the offseason, that he really wants to bring Riq Woolen along. I feel like if Mike McDonald can't do it, maybe nobody can. You know what I mean? As far as like just getting him to be more consistent, because he's a fantastic player. We saw it his rookie year, but he just doesn't have the same type of stickiness that he did then as far as coverage goes. And then there's been a couple of times like out on the edge where he hasn't been super physical. So I think he's got all the tools though. So if you did want to trade him and get somebody maybe that you really need, like at a different place. Maybe it's inside back, or maybe it's another corner or whatever. But I would think Riq Woolen would be a very attractive piece to a lot of guys in the NFL, a lot of head coaches and GMs, because I think everybody, the old thing about how coaches like Chuck Knox would be like, I can turn this guy around. Like their egos get in the way a little bit sometimes. But, maybe that's the case with Mike McDonald, and maybe he is, just maybe he's not going to be able to turn him around. And if that's the case, I don't think anybody can. So I think it would be an interesting piece because corners are hard to find, man. I think it's the second hardest job to do in the NFL. The number one being quarterback. Being quarterback is ridiculous. You have to see everything, call all the calls, everything. But, you know, you look at corners, I always say this, they're on blast. Everybody sees it. If he makes a mistake, it's very obvious. And so it's a difficult position to play, but he has got some of the best tools. I mean, he is built like if you designed the perfect corner, it's Riq Woolen. It really is. I mean, because Sherm, he's a pretty big guy too, but I think, you know, and he had the arm length and the speed and everything. But I don't think he had the kind of speed that Riq has. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, because I think if they don't trade him, then it's going to mean that, hey, he's really turned things around, and I would expect to see the good Riq Woolen that we know.
Well, and Daniel Jeremiah was on with Brock and Salk today. He offers a counter argument to why you might not want to trade him this year, because it wouldn't necessarily make your team, this current team, any better if you trade him this year.
I've seen his name bandied about a bunch. People have talked about, teams are in the corner market that he could be had. I always go back to conversations at cut down day every single year around the league. If you talk to every GM, they'll tell you the same thing. We just need one more tackle and one more corner. If we could just find a tackle and a corner, and there's going to be attrition. So to me, if I have any depth on the offensive line or in the secondary, I don't know that I'm willing to deal from that at this point in time. If you got a team that's capable of going on a run, it's, I get where he is, and you got guys coming back, and he hasn't been what you hoped he would be, but I don't know. What are you going to get? You're going to get a 5th or 6th round pick?
Yeah, that's something I hadn't really considered. I mean, if you trade him away, you're not making this team better. And right now, this team's playing like a team that has Super Bowl aspirations.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that changes anything.
Unless you trade him away for another player, right? But, that doesn't usually happen, number one. And then the other thing about it, it's always disappointing what you get back.
Yeah, especially if it's a player.
Yeah.
I mean, a draft pick, maybe you sell it as, look, hey, we value these picks, a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick. That's very important. We've seen how impactful they can be. Mm-hmm. But this team right now doesn't feel like they're the quote, sellers, as we talk about sometimes, usually with baseball. But that kind of applies in the NFL as well, that teams will just kind of unload if they're towards the bottom, if they're just a dumpster fire of a team. I'm thinking of the Titans. But like the Seahawks, they're in the exact opposite position. A very competitive NFC. They're right towards the top of it. So I hadn't really considered that immediate impact, because on the surface, yeah, you don't want to let a guy hit free agency if you could get something for him. Like, oh, you let Riq Woolen walk. After this season, he's a free agent. You wouldn't get anything. Maybe you capitalize on it, but you're also not making your team better. And we've just gotten through all the injuries the Seahawks have had to deal with, especially in the secondary. I'm kind of coming around to what Daniel Jeremiah is saying there.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And again, it's always kind of disappointing what you get back for him. But, I thought that was interesting, and I couldn't tell if that was maybe Mike just making it really obvious and, telling people in the press that Riq Woolen had a really good week of practice and he's really coming around and everything. I couldn't tell if that was like he was putting up like a smoke screen, or is he just trying to get to the kid and maybe just give him a little bit more confidence. I think, and it's not like Mike doesn't like him. I mean, I think he's talked about him a lot, and I think he sees the potential in Riq Woolen. But yeah, it's always, kind of disappointing to see what you get back.
I know. And I'm trying to think too, like what position realistically could they get back? And they asked Daniel Jeremiah, would you do it for a guard? And he said, you're not going to get a guard, and no one's going to trade a guard who's good enough to come in and start at the trade deadline, especially just for a corner, straight up. So, yeah, in an ideal world, if you could get a guard back, maybe you plug him in ahead of Anthony Bradford right now, but that's not realistic. So we'll see what happens. Again, the trade deadline, November 4th. That's a week from Tuesday. And yes, Riq Woolen has kind of been the name that's been the popular one that's gotten thrown out there. We can ask Bob Condotta about that as well. He'll probably have some good insight.
Do you expect him to do something, though? I mean, I feel like with Mike McDonald, there's a little bit more urgency, I think, when it comes like he's not going to wait till the end of the year.
So, but is there a position you think that they would need to move on from? Like last year, linebacker wasn't working, and we saw how much it changed. Is there a position right now that you think is not performing that they'd have to move on from?
Yeah, I mean, maybe just the single corner.
Yeah.
In Riq Woolen, and just, it'll say a lot about, I'll love it if they don't trade him, and then Mike continues to talk about, because I think it really helps Riq Woolen. I think he does read some of that stuff, and he's one of those guys that pays attention. Remember, he got crosswise with us one time, and we were like, no, that wasn't us. We didn't say that. But yeah, he's a friend of the show. We've had him on a couple of times. He's a great kid, but just, needs some confidence and focus. And I think if they decide to hang on to him, you keep hearing these things that Mike McDonald is talking about, it's a really good sign for him.
Well, coming up, we're going to take a look at the rest of the NFL landscape that will certainly impact the trade deadline, including one team that has gotten off to a much worse start than I think anyone could have imagined, including the head coach himself. That's coming up next. Wyman and Bob Show on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Hawks Live. Touchdown! Presented by the Dining District at the Bellevue Collection. Thursday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. Live from Bellevue Square Center Court. Come on by and join hosts Michael Bumpus and Paul Moyer and a different Seahawks player every week.
This should be fun.
Hawks Live. Thursday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. Exclusively on the home of the Seahawks. Seattle Sports on 710 and the Seattle Sports app.
I had a young woman who was on a new SUV, and she had attachments to her old car because it was her first car, and she had questions because she was doubling her spending budget, and she was very fiscally responsible. It was almost making her sick. And the best path at that point was to, let's stop for the night, and you go home and take a breath. She came back in the morning and bought the car. She was way happier. These are major life accomplishments. You have the ability to afford at this tier. You've secured one of the major needs in your life. You should be feeling a tremendous amount of pride and respect for your accomplishments. I'm just grateful that we get to celebrate it with them, that we get to be part of it in that aspect of it.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, October 25th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
Let's talk about your hair. Well, maybe after we talk about my hair. I've got great hair, as you know, and it's because of Advanced Hair. Yep, Advanced Hair Restoration. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results that I can attest to. Guys, it's not magic, but it's close to it. They put hair where you need it most, and bam, it grows. It's actual science. Advanced Hair has top-rated physicians, modern technology, and best of all, you get your very own natural hair that begins to regrow the very next day. It's even guaranteed to grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now at 425-449-8185. Mention Curly to qualify for $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. It's a limited time offer. Advanced Hair, the winner of the 425 Business of the Year, and the team that gave me my hair back. More importantly, they'll do the same for you. Guaranteed. 425-449-8185 or advancedhair.com.
Luxury has arrived at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. It's Mike Salk here. You can book now for an unforgettable experience. Let's talk about Hawks Peak. It is the place to be for game days this football season. With over 66 TVs, indoor-outdoor concept, the deck is covered and it's heated as well. And the food, oh man, it was excellent. All with breathtaking views of the Cascades and the Snoqualmie Valley. Yep, you can go to snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
The home of the Seahawks, Seattle Sports. Touchdown! Seahawks! Ken Walker III! Get everything Seahawks at seattlesports.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the...
Designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your...
Windshield wipers. eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying... Just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, October 25th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
Every time I turn around, my friends at Pure Talk give me one more reason to feel good about switching. This month, for instance, they're supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat veterans struggling with PTSD. The result? They're saving lives on both ends of the leash. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. I like being in business with an American wireless company who shares my values. Yeah, I appreciate unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and I bet you will too. But I think you'll really appreciate doing business with a company who gives back to the men and women who volunteered to defend our country. Just dial pound 250, say micro. With Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch in as little as 10 minutes. Again, dial pound 250, say micro, to switch to an American wireless company who actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Wyman and Bob.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Dave, the Seahawks are on a bye, but we know the NFL churns on.
Yep.
Game tonight. How's your fantasy team looking? Is it set? Is your fantasy lineup set?
Thank you for reminding me.
Chargers tonight. That's important. A lot of high-impact fantasy players, usually on the Chargers and the Vikings.
Justin Herbert.
Yes, Justin Jefferson.
Luckily, I have him.
You have Herbert, okay.
Yeah, because Lamar Jackson is down.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway.
Aaron Jones has been activated. That might be a key for anyone who has the Vikings running back.
Yeah.
So, pay attention to that. But, yeah, as we look around the NFL, the NFC West, obviously, very good. The best division in football. Maybe not surprising when we saw how these teams finished last year. What might be a surprise is you look to the other conference.
The AFC West.
The AFC West. And there was a lot of excitement about those Pete Carroll-led Raiders. And it's gotten bad. It's gotten almost rock bottom for this team after their loss last week against the Chiefs. 31-0. They were held to 95 total yards. 3 first downs, 95 total yards. And even Pete Carroll, after the game, was kind of stunned to see how badly they were beaten.
This was a game that Ned didn't see coming. We had prepared really well. We were tuned into it. And I can't imagine, I couldn't imagine that the guys that weren't able to play in this game would make that much of a factor. I just didn't feel that in our preparation. But they're a terrific team. They did everything like they do. And they played really well in all phases and kept us totally at bay. We couldn't make first down and couldn't get off the field. And they just did like they do. And when we have a lot of work to do, and we have a lot of catching up to do, and we got to get our guys back. The key guys that missed the game are key guys on our football team, and we weren't able to overcome that. And it seems like there was a factor in there.
They were 0 for 7. 0 for 7 on third down. And they had, 3 total first downs in the entire game, as opposed to 30 by the Chiefs. So, yeah, I mean, they also defensively played horrible, but I've never seen that before. I don't think that I can remember, even back in the day, I don't remember anybody not getting 100 yards. I mean, I just remember thinking in Denver, the number that we were always kind of at was about 300 yards. If you can give up, 275 to 300, you're doing pretty good. You're probably got a good chance of winning that game. But this is crazy. I don't know. I mean, I did watch that game on Red Zone, and it didn't look like guys were getting beat right and left. It just looked like they were just entirely outmatched.
I think what it highlights, especially after you hear that from Pete Carroll, if he was that surprised, unfortunately, it kind of reiterates what the issues were here at the very end of his tenure. The inability to adapt or to move on from coordinators who weren't getting it done or things like that. And we're not going to disparage Pete Carroll's run as the greatest coach in Seahawks history. That is unassailable. But we saw at the end that the team had trouble adapting week to week, opponent to opponent, matchup to matchup. And I think it kind of reaffirms, look, the Seahawks are faced with a critical juncture there. And look at how well they maneuvered that. Because right now, they're at 5-2. They're getting healthy. They're coming off a bye. Pete Carroll got back into coaching, and his team is going the opposite direction. And with Geno Smith, a quarterback that had some success here with the Seahawks, and now he goes over to the Raiders, and just nothing has gone right. And it just feels like a coach that's now having some trouble, again, adapting. And, we look at someone like Mike McDonald, and you guys interview players every week, and what do they say? It takes a Harvard education to know Mike's defense because there are so many elements to it. There's so many wrinkles, so many things that you have to adapt opponent to opponent, week to week, and it just doesn't feel like Pete Carroll, again, is doing what it takes to keep up in the modern NFL.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, just so old school. The other thing is, and this is kind of, I'm bringing this up because this is an area of where you would get an F as far as at the bye week right now. The Seahawks are -4 in turnover ratio. They've done a poor job with that, and right behind them are the Las Vegas Raiders at -5. But yeah, that's another thing that's not really a Pete thing. I mean, if you look at his tenure here, they took care of the football. And remember, he got down on Russell one time because I think he had thrown, I think it was 3 interceptions in 2 games or something, and he was like, "Hey, we got to back off here with, letting the ball fly." And, there were some decisions there where I think Russ wanted to kind of branch out and start, throwing the ball downfield. And Pete was like, "No, we've got to cut down on the interceptions." He's big with that, and they're -5 right now. So, but shouldn't talk because we're -4. But, yeah, that's something that needs to definitely be fixed. But Pete Carroll, yeah, it's I don't know that the game's passing him by or anything like that. It just seemed like all the stuff that we saw, any kind of highlights or whatever from their camp, that everybody loved Pete. But yeah, I mean, maybe he can. Geno is a guy that he was talking to all last year, and Geno's not having a good year.
So, yeah, nothing really going well there. Back to the NFC West, though, because we've kind of looked at this and kept thinking, almost like the Astros, certainly with all their injuries. They'd have to lose. They'd have to fall off the top of the division at some point. The Niners, with all their injuries, with Brock Purdy having barely played, certainly they were going to go into a tailspin again. Well, the Niners, they're towards the top again. They're sitting there, very impressive. Mac Jones has done what they've needed. And Christian McCaffrey, as you pointed out, has been just one of the most outstanding performers, balanced between receiving and passing across the NFL this year.
Yeah, he's just been incredible, and it's interesting when you look at his career because he got hurt in Carolina. They paid him a lot of money. Then he got hurt, and and then he went to the Niners, obviously, and he's just done an amazing job. Like, he's all-purpose yardage I think he's like the number 12 receiver and the number 9 rusher in the NFL right now. So yeah, he's just getting it done in every way. And I don't know, it looked like that San Francisco is going to have some, injury problems and things like that. They lost at home to Jacksonville, but then they just, keep that offense continues. They find ways to get it done, even if they have injuries.
I'm fascinated to see what happens when the Seahawks play the Rams, because we've looked at this Rams team, and the Seahawks have played the Niners. They've played the Cardinals. They have not played the Rams yet. And you sit here and you look at this team. Again, we thought they'd be dealing with some injury questions at the start of the year. Matthew Stafford, there was that saga, I think, every day, right? We were charting, well, did his back hold up? Did we think that he was going to get out there on the field? And now all of a sudden the Rams turn in this incredible performance against the Jags. They go into that, and now they're 5-2. What do you see out of this Rams team that looks challenging, or that looks like, hey, you're going to have a pretty good matchup when the Seahawks face them for the first time?
Yeah, well, I think, number one, they have a really good front seven. And, they're playing really well. And so for whatever reason, them not wanting to pay their off-the-ball linebackers, that's the reason why Ernest Jones is here, part of the reason anyway. But, yeah, they're their D-line is really good. And then, I don't know, it was just, there's something about Sean McVay that just makes you feel like he kind of has our number, you know? And so that's going to be interesting. Those, I think, are going to be the most telling matchups this year. I mean, obviously, the next time you play the Niners, you need to take care of business there. But are they ready for the big time? Is this a team, the Seahawks, are they ready to actually get some wins in the playoffs? I think that the Rams, that's going to be a really interesting checkpoint, is like, okay, how do we play against that team? Because, again, like I've said, I feel like that's just a matchup that we've lost over the years.
Yeah, it's coming up, too. After the bye, you have Commanders, Cardinals, and then Rams. So that first matchup is coming up quickly after this bye week for the Seahawks. Well, we will get more insight on the Seahawks team coming out of the bye week and maybe the rest of the NFC West from Bob Condotta of the Seattle Times. He joins us next here on Wyman and Bob, Seattle Sports, and the Seattle Sports app.
ESPN senior MLB insider Jeff Passett with Brock and Salk.
If you are in the Mariners front office, what are you spending your offseason focusing on?
This feels like a beginning, not an end. I see this being the beginning of the best run in the history of this franchise. The sheer number of really good prospects that the Mariners have lead me to believe that they're going to be in this position again.
Get more on the Seattle Sports YouTube page and the Seattle Sports app.
What if you had the smartest Wi-Fi? If you did, it'd be Xfinity, of course, and it'd come with their best state-of-the-art equipment. It would boost speeds to the devices that needed them most, prioritizing your most important connections, whether you were streaming, gaming, or gaming while pretending to work. And it would let you stream 4. That's right, 4 games on one screen. It would even power your mobile connection so you could bring faster, secure Wi-Fi speeds with you where you use it most. It would be proactive and fix problems before you knew you had them. Impressive, right? And it would have security features that protect you from threats at home and online. Kind of like a force field for your life. If you had the smartest Wi-Fi, well, everything would work together seamlessly to keep you connected, no matter what. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply.
Stacey Rost here from Seattle Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, this is for you too. Stubborn fat is really hard to get rid of. And then there's all those gimmicky lasers, fat freezing methods, prescriptions. But imagine a simple solution that takes just one day and provides immediate, noticeable results. Introducing ProSculpt. ProSculpt uses air-assisted technology that's safe and gentle, yet powerful, delivering instant fat-reducing and skin-tightening results. Performed by board-certified plastic surgeons while fully awake, ProSculpt contours your body with minimal downtime. It's designed to target problem areas: waistline, face, neck, arms, thighs. ProSculpt gently removes unwanted fat and tightens loose skin with FDA-cleared plasma technology, all in a simple, guaranteed one-day procedure. ProSculpt is one and done. For your free consultation and $250 off, visit ProSculpt.com for powerful permanent fat removal and skin tightening that works for ladies and you men. It's ProSculpt.com.
Start having fun. Caesar Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino Resort is your #1 place to eat, drink, watch, and have fun. Keep up with your favorite sports anywhere and everywhere on property with the mobile app. Visit MuckleshootCasino.com today. Scan the QR code and let the play begin.
Muckleshoot. Hey, Mike Salk here. Who's got family coming to town this holiday season? I know I do. My parents will be staying at my house for a few days over Thanksgiving. And obviously, you want to make sure your home is prepared. You want to present a warm environment. And that starts with a well-heated, properly insulated home. Make sure your insulation is ready for that challenge this year by calling Crawl Pros. They'll come to your house, just like they did at mine, do a free corner-to-corner inspection of your crawl space and your attic. If your home has damaged insulation or no insulation in the attic or crawl space, get it fixed before the cold weather really shows up. If you're a PSE customer and your home was built before 1990, you could qualify to receive a rebate on up to 95% of the cost to properly insulate your crawl space and attic. Yeah, 95%. But you got to act now because many of these rebates are ending at the end of the year, including federal incentives. Call Crawl Pros. They're the crawl space space experts and learn what's going on behind that crawl space and add a catch for free. Then see what energy rebates you're eligible for. Go to crawlpros.com.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Have you noticed cracks in your drywall, chimney, or exterior walls? I hope not, because if you have, they could be indications that you've got a much bigger problem with your foundation. That's where Groundworks comes in. They can honestly assess your situation and create a plan to stabilize your foundation. Schedule your free inspection at groundworks.com/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job. It's a good one.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Coverage varies by plan, view contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
This is an announcement to all United States vehicle owners who own a 2003 or newer vehicle with a manufacturer's warranty about to expire, or no warranty coverage at all. With a struggling economy and the cost of living on the rise, Endurance is now offering an affordable, low-cost vehicle coverage plan to the general public. As of today, you could be one of millions of drivers that now may qualify to have your vehicle protected under this coverage and have all future covered auto repairs paid directly to the repair shop for you. You pick your plan. You pick your deductible. You even pick the repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental coverage is included. Get your vehicle protected now and save your wallet from costly vehicle repairs. A toll-free number has been established for you to call for your free 5-minute quote and to see if you qualify. The number to call is 800-266-3845. Again, that's 800-266-3845. 800-266-3845.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Big scandal in the sports world today. Current Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups was arrested as part of a years-long investigation by the FBI into rigged poker games backed by the Mafia. Meanwhile, in baseball, the Blue Jays announced they will start rookie Trey Savage in Game 1 of the World Series. Dodgers are going with Blake Snell. First pitch, 5 o'clock tomorrow night. And elsewhere for the Mariners, Julio Rodriguez, Jorge Polanco, and Cal Raleigh have been named finalists for the Silver Slugger Award at their respective positions. The winners will be announced on November 7th.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This hour of Wyman and Bob is brought to you by K2 Vision RLE.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Wyman and Bob
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman here with you. The Seahawks in the midst of their bye week. No better time to kind of assess the state of this team, especially after 7 weeks. Well, the man who covers them every single day for the Seattle Times does a terrific job for them. Bob Condotta joins us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Bob, how do you sum up this Seahawks team at 5-2 and on the bye week right now?
Yeah, well, I think they're in it's funny, I'm kind of writing something for Sunday, and I was looking back at the opening game against San Francisco, and I think in the immediate aftermath of that game, you were kind of concerned a little bit. I mean, they were 0-1. They'd lost a game at home. Sam Darnold, a lot of hype about his debut. He played well overall, but had the turnover at the end, and they'd had a couple guys get hurt. So I don't know if at that point you thought they'd win 5 of the next 6 and be, 5-2 heading into their bye and tied for first in their division. And, looking at kind of their overall numbers where they're top 5 basically in offense and defense and points allowed and yards per game, yards per play allowed, a lot of really positive stats for them that way. So I think it's a pretty good spot overall considering everything. And, they should get healthier coming out of the bye as well. I think they're in a lot better state that way than a lot of other teams in around the league and in their division as well. So, I think in general, it's a pretty positive situation they're in.
Yeah. One of the things that occurred to me, Bob, is Sam Darnold. I think the difference between this year and then like the rest of his career basically is that he's had some bad plays. The pick he threw in Pittsburgh was a really bad play. Him fumbling the ball and in the end zone was a really bad play. But he always bounces back. I mean, I feel like that's the difference. It doesn't just spiral out of control for him. It's like he's able to wipe it clean and just move on and flush it. But that just is my impressions of Sam Darnold. But what have you been seeing from him, and what kind of just like a general grade would you give him at quarterback?
Well, I would agree with you on that point. I remember talking to him before the season, and he kind of talked about that a little bit, and that was one of the things he learned and all the steps along the way is that's sort of what you have to learn how to write it out. And like most guys who become quarterbacks who get drafted in the top 3 in the draft or whatever, he had a lot of success until he got to the NFL. And then, like a lot of guys, the NFL is the first time, where it kind of consistently, anyway, can kind of get at you. The game can bite you back a little bit, and you have to learn how to deal with that. You sort of have to learn how to deal with failure and moving on and everything. Almost everybody has to go through that. And so I do think he's gotten a lot. I think he would say that he's probably learned how to do that a little bit, ride out the highs and lows a little bit better maybe than he had initially. And yeah, I mean, you talk about the fumble, and I think everybody noted it, but his first pass after that couldn't have been better. Was the pass to JSN that got him out of the hole on that next drive, and they went down and that only led to a field goal, but still that was pretty big, taking an 8-point lead there, and so he showed it right there. It's funny. I mean, like Pro Football Focus, I'm looking at it again today. They've got him rated number 1 in the NFL again right now. I mean, just for their overall grade for everything, that he's doing. I think given everything, there have been. I mean, it is kind of interesting. There have been 2 or 3, just as you point out, really bad turnovers that could have. One sort of did decide a game. Obviously against the 49ers and the Tampa Bay game as well. You maybe give him more of a pass for that one. And not really being his fault, but there have been some costly turnovers, and that was a little bit of kind of his reputation coming in was having that. So that's the one thing I think you would have to just sort of look at if you're looking at anything as kind of what's he not done. But I think in general, you'd probably have to give him about a B+ at worst, and maybe even an A- for just the everything that they've done. And again, I think in terms of what the expectations were as well. I think a lot of people were really questioning how the Seahawks had handled that. And, what was it a net plus going from Geno to Sam? And I think given everything, there's no way you can't say that at the moment they really won that transaction.
Yep. Bob, when you look at the connection between Sam Darnold and JSN and the success that both of them have had, do you credit the connection? Do you credit how skilled they have played? Or has the play calling been equally impactful? I guess when you're kind of saying, has it been a combination of all these things? What has led you to see why the offense has had so much success, especially Darnold and JSN?
Well, I mean, it's impossible to just say it's one thing, but, I think it helps. I would go back to one of the reasons why they got Darnold was the connection he had with Clint Kubiak, and that he'd been with him. And, they were going to have to, obviously, when Clint Kubiak got hired, they thought Geno Smith was going to be the quarterback and DK Metcalf was going to be, their number 1 receiving target. And within about 6 weeks or so of Kubiak getting hired, that all changed. But what helped was he had worked with Darnold, and I think he knew quickly, we're going to do this as our not they changed the whole offense, but in terms of some things that I do think they changed a little bit, some emphasis and things like that. I think they went we're going to do this now, and this is what really works for Sam, and this is what he can do, and we're just kind of going to slide JSN into roles that Kubiak had seen receivers really succeed in this offense before, and make him obviously the primary guy. And so I think being able to hit the ground running with that a little bit kind of eased the newness of bringing in a new quarterback. And I just think I think with Darnold, I think having gone through what he's gone through, I think he has realized that you just have to do what the defense gives you, or what makes most sense at every play. And a lot of, most of the time that's just been JSN. So I don't know how much he's necessarily forcing it to JSN. I think it's just where it's taken him, and Smith and Jigba is just becoming one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL kind of before our eyes, and that's obviously what you hoped. He was the first receiver taken in the draft the year he was taken, so there was obviously high expectations. So you can't necessarily say it's a surprise or anything, but to be on pace for almost 2,000 yards receiving is really something, and we'll see if he can keep that up. But so far so good on that.
Yeah, well, he throws it to JSN because he's open. Okay, I mean that's the thing about that. But hey, Bob, you wrote most recently about the trade deadline coming up here, and we were just talking about the guy. It looks like you have a picture of Riq Woolen on top of your article there, and that's kind of the one that I think everybody sort of assumes something's going to get made. I agreed with one of the texters. Just said, hey, I would trade him if I could get kind of like the Ernest Jones trade. Like you get a good player back, but it seems like that never happens. And I don't know. What do you think of? And also, Mike has been saying some pretty positive things about Riq Woolen. So just what do you think? What's your guess there?
Well,
educated guess.
A cynic would say that teams always maybe talk up guys that they might be looking to. You're not going to talk down a guy that you might be wanting to trade, right?
Right.
Not that I don't think Mike McDonald doesn't think those things about Riq Woolen, but certainly they could be also like I want to make sure that that gets out there. I mean, with Woolen, he's almost certainly not going to be back next year because of the contract expiring, and he's going to be a free agent, and who even knows if he would want to be back at this point, given the way things have gone. He might feel it's time for a fresh start for him as well. So, instead of you could just play it out and let him walk in March, and then hope you get a comp pick. But that's always a little bit more of a complicated game than you think because there's a lot of other things that have to play into that, and you also don't get it until the following year, so 2026. So, if you do something now, you could add to your draft haul for next this 2027. I'm sorry for a comp pick. So 2026 would be when you maybe get something more immediately for him. In terms of a player for player, I mean the Ernest Jones thing works perfectly for them because Tennessee basically wanted to get they were unloading guys. So that was more of a targeted thing. Like they really wanted a linebacker, and Tennessee was, the same thing where Ernest was going to be a free agent. So at that point, they were just kind of unloading guys. So that's when you can kind of pull those off, and that's when the Seahawks have been able to do that in general. Most of the guys they've acquired at the trade deadline are guys, Carlos Dunlap in 2020. Leonard Williams in 23 were guys who were on expiring contracts. That's generally what you're going to get at this point. And so if you can find that, and that this guy's not going to be back with this team the following year anyway, so that team might be willing to give him up now, you can do that. So maybe they can find a suitor like that with Woolen. It's just interesting to me. I don't really know how many needs they have that you could really address incredibly well. Just of who's out there, you could obviously maybe there's big name pass rushers, but I think they feel pretty good about where their pass rush is right now with what Uchenna Nwosu has been able to do since he's come back.
Yeah.
And there's some other spots as well. Linebacker, people talked about that, but Drake Thomas, I think, has been playing out of his mind. There's always the whole thing of if you acquire a guy right now, he's got to quickly figure out what you're doing, right? And especially on defense, everybody talks about, that's maybe not the easiest defense in the world to pick up on the fly with a lot of the things that they do. But I think McDonald feels really comfortable with what they have there right now. So I can certainly see them wanting to go for a depth piece or something like that. In the case of Woolen, you're probably most logically looking at a draft pick. I would think for him. But you never know. Maybe there's another team out there that, is kind of looking to get rid of somebody that also needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
Bob, how do you see this defense kind of looking when Devin Witherspoon is back out there? Now Nicky Manwari's healthy, Witherspoon coming back, Julian Love back as well. How do all these pieces fit with this surplus of talent back on the field?
Yeah, that's going to be a great question. But there's no way Devin Witherspoon's not going to be an every down player. So,
right.
He's going to slide in there. Right now, I mean, that's again what plays into the Woolen situation is I would imagine, Witherspoon and Josh Jobe become your every down, your base down corners again, and Julian Love obviously flies back in at starting safety, and then that becomes your question is, we've basically seen Nick Manwari just essentially be the full-time nickelback and on the field for almost every play these last two games, and he's played really well, so they're going to want to continue that. And so again, that's what plays in with Woolen is What's going to be interesting to see there is Witherspoon obviously usually plays on an awful lot of nickel inside as well. So they just kind of leave him on the boundary. If they do that, then there's no spot for Woolen to play regularly. So he would just be a reserve at that point anyway, probably. But how do they? I don't think they'd want to. I mean, with how well Evan Worry's played, I think they're going to want to continue to try to leave him out there a lot. But I don't think you're going to take snaps away from Devin Witherspoon. So it is going to be interesting that way. But if I had to guess, I mean, I would guess that's what you would see is Woolen and Job as your corners. Love and Bryant obviously as your safeties, and then Nick Evan Worry is going to play the nickel most of the time, and then everybody else is going to be kind of fighting for whatever else they do. If McDonald wants to go, when McDonald would want to go with 6 DBs or something like that, that's where somebody else would play. But it's been interesting. McDonald seemed to talk a little bit about after the Tampa Bay game, sort of narrowing down what they're doing a little bit. You really didn't see much of the 6 defensive back stuff at all. You really just saw them go with their nickel package, and with him and Worry being out there the whole time. You basically saw less rotating, which I think maybe he felt was a little better. Just kind of stick with what's working, this kind of thing. And I think that's probably what they're going to want to keep going with going forward.
Hey, Bob, we got Big Ray Roberts coming on later, but I want to ask you what your impression has been of the offensive line just in general. It's been pretty good. I mean, I think if you can ignore the 4 or 5 plays that Anthony Bradford has that are head scratching, where he's facing the wrong way or something like that. No, I mean, every other play he kills somebody, but really the tackles have really stood out to me, that they've done a really good job of keeping Sam clean. But I have heard very little complaints about the Seahawks offensive line, which, as of late around here, that's pretty rare that people aren't complaining about the O-line.
Yeah, definitely. I excuse me. I do think the one thing as a whole, their entire offense had got to get better at going forward is the running game. I mean, I think they're 30th in yards per carry. I was looking through for something I might do the last few Super Bowl champs and where they ranked in yards per carry. And I think the Rams in the year they won it about 4 years ago, they were like 25th, but most of the other teams have been pretty good in that. So it's not necessarily, the amount of yards you run for, but just being able to be good at it when you do it. But obviously the Seahawks are doing it a lot. So, it's so far it hasn't really, some of these times they haven't gotten the running game going. It hasn't really come back to bite them too much. And, the Houston game was kind of another where it ended up looking better at the end, and it sort of felt like it did at times watching the game. They ended up putting up some okay numbers against what was a pretty good defense, and I think that part they feel pretty good about. I think they feel better about it coming out of the Houston game than they have at other times. But you're right. Yeah, I think the tackles have played really well. I think Gray Zabel has been what they hoped for so far, and I think Jalen Sundell, they feel like, has done a really good job in general of doing all the things that a center's got to do as well. Bradford he's probably going to be the one guy that you sort of look at a little bit, and if there was something to do there to upgrade that or something, they will get Christian Haynes back, presumably here in the next few weeks. So, if they really felt like they wanted to throw that open for competition, they could. And Josh Jones is back now as well. He can play guard also. So, they sort of have some options there if they need them. But yeah, I think they would say that Anthony Bradford has probably played a little better in their eyes than the perception might have been. He obviously had a couple of penalties that didn't look great in the Houston game as well. Those kind of things always sort of stand out. Oftentimes the only times they mention the offensive line is when they commit penalties. But yeah. I think in general that has come together better than people might have thought heading into the year, given some of the uncertainty that there was in the offseason.
Bob Condotta, Seahawks beat writer for the Seattle Times, has been our guest here. Bob, thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the bye week.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Thanks, Bob. Does a great job.
Stuff there. Yeah. I always feel kind of guilty when you make these guys work on their bye week. Yeah. Like you're working, Dave. We're making you work. We're making Condotta work. But no, good insight there.
Oh,
from
this
Bob
isn't work to me, Mike.
Yeah.
This is pure
thank
joy.
You. Yeah,
blissful joy.
The most fun you're going to have
just
this
like
week.
Matt probably feels the same way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
you get to work. You get to come into work. Okay.
I think he disagrees based on that look.
I get to be locked in this windowless room with Lefko for 4 hours a day. I
Not
get
today,
the
though.
joy of that.
You don't get that for a week.
Hey, man, it's Lefko's birthday. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, Lefko. Happy birthday.
Thanks for the
Thank you
thanks
for
for the
not being
ribbon
here for it.
made up for it. So all right, one free insult per gift. So there we go. We got a few.
There you go.
But Dave, when we listen back to what Condotta said there and kind of look at the overall picture of the Seahawks season after 7 weeks, it's not quite the halfway point, but you have a good enough sample size. So when you look at this team at 5-2. Are they where you thought they would be? I mean, you and Bob, you made the predictions. You were very optimistic about this team.
Yeah.
Is this now kind of what you expected? Or do they do it in a different way than you expected?
I thought that the run game would be more developed. Like Bob was saying. Now, the one thing that was really cool, I think they ran it 33 times the other day and passed 32. Whatever. It was off by one play, but the mixture there is, I don't know, I think there's good things coming in the run game. And I think that there's lots more that they can accomplish. So that's probably the one thing. But again, like our buddy Mark Schlereth says, the attempts are huge. And when you keep trying to fit it in there, and I love that with the play calling, because last year they just deserted the run. I mean, everybody knew pretty much that they were not going to run the ball on them. So, yeah, and there were games where they just got into it, and it was like, okay, we just have to throw. So I love that they're forcing the issue because, it's a 5-2 team right now. I mean, they look good, and it's going to be a tough challenge going to Washington. Is Jaden Daniels going to be ready by then?
I don't know. He's out for Monday.
Yeah.
So big question mark there, and that could impact a lot about how the Commanders approach that game.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean, they've been great on the road, right? Since Mike McDonald's gotten here, they've lost one game on the road, which was the Detroit Lions game last year on Monday Night Football. So, and I think they had like 6 starters that were down on defense.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, they always handle business on the road. So, I mean, if this gets to be a 6-2 team after a win like that, man, that'll be impressive. But yeah, it's the one thing that I think makes me kind of uneasy a little bit. The other thing was inside linebacker play. But man, like Bob said, Drake Thomas looked really good. Like he was making tackles everywhere. He's really aggressive. He's pretty good in coverage. And I thought he really stepped up. So what a great find he is there. And I feel like he's one of those guys that, like Ernest Jones, this defense makes him better. And he's smart enough to handle it. So yeah, I think it's looking definitely up, and especially, and Bob, I'm glad he pointed out, because I'd forgotten that after that, where he we're talking about Sam Darnold, when he fumbled in the end zone, they get a touchdown. The next throw was just that absolute perfect throw. I think it was on the sidelines. It was kind of one of those shots in between the safety and the corner, and it was just a perfect throw. And I just love that he is not being rattled by anything. I mean, we heard the Rabel call where he's going, Sam, Sam. But, and it was kind of reminiscent of that playoff game with Paul Allen calling it in Minnesota. But, he hasn't gone in the tank after that. Like, he's not sitting on the sideline saying, I'm seeing ghosts. He just flushes it, moves on. I think it's the most impressive thing he's done.
Is that something where, getting back to what you said about Drake Thomas, would he be among your biggest surprises, or is it just that McDonald finds a way to work these guys in and maximize what they do well? Because at the time, going into the season, we highlighted the inside linebackers, the fact that really minimal depth, it felt like, behind Tyrese Knight. And now we've barely mentioned Tyrese Knight because it's been Drake Thomas. You had Ernest Jones, you have Tyrese Knight, and you didn't really know who you had after that. But Drake Thomas has played so well. I feel like that's got to be one of the biggest surprises of the season, at least for me here, because I didn't expect to be talking about Drake Thomas as such a key part of the inside linebacking group.
Yeah, maybe the biggest surprise. Yeah, I think another surprise, very pleasant surprise to me, has been the maturity of Eamon Wari. I mean, he hasn't made a bunch of plays, but when he gets in there, like the way he moves around the field and, the plays that he makes, it's shocking almost that like he looks like a 5-year veteran. So, yeah, that's been one. And I think just in general, the offensive line play has been good. I think they're getting there with the run game. And once they do, that'll be good. But yeah, we've gotten plenty of time for Sam Darnold, and he's played really well. So yeah, I think that's maybe the biggest jump, because there was constant complaining about the offensive line really over the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah. We're really going back to to the Legion of Boom days. That was a good offensive line at that point, but they hit a lot of warts because of Russell Wilson's mobility and Marshawn Lynch's ability to run through tackles. But yeah, I think this could be one of the better offensive lines that they've had. But I'm still a little skeptical about Jalen Sundell at center. I think assignment wise, he is steady, but he's a little undersized. And then you got Bradford, who is either really, really good or bad. Yeah. So
I like that. I like that extreme breakdown there. You're right, though.
Yeah, he just all of a sudden will just have just a weird play. And there was a little shuffle pass to Charbonnet the other day, and it was really a cool design play. It was fake to Charbonnet. He, runs up into the line, turns around, and then Sam gives him the little shovel pass. Well, Sundell's trying to go downfield and block, and he has Anthony Bradford in front of him, facing him the wrong way. So, yeah, but then you see Anthony Bradford just crush a guy. So it was, I don't know, if he can just sort of level out his play, his performance, that would be huge.
Yeah, we'll get back to the Seahawks, but there are big questions for the Mariners. They were addressed today outside of Josh Naylor. What's the priority for the Mariners pending Josh Naylor, and then what comes next for this team to bring back so they can run it back in 2026? We'll dive into that. Coming up next, Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman with you. Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
They restored hope to the loyal, longtime fans.
The Mariners will play in October.
And showed a new generation what October baseball looks like.
Get out the rye bread and mustard, Grandma. It is grand salami time. Eugenio Suarez.
The next season will hang a new banner.
The Seattle Mariners are champions in the American League West.
Congrats on a great run, boys, from your proud partners at Seattle Sports.
The fall, well, it's a great time to reset your workouts on new stuff, and Top Fitness has some great deals going on right now. Hey, Brock Hewitt here, and you've heard me talk about working out in your home gym. It's the best. From flooring to everything that goes in that gym, like treadmills, ellipticals, and strength training systems, well, Top Fitness provides it all. Top Fitness represents the very best brands available, like Washington's own Precor, yes, the company that created the elliptical, and Inspire Fitness, the leader in strength training machines, along with so many others. Give Top Fitness your room dimensions right now, and you know what? They'll do the rest. They'll do a complete fitness room design. And right now, get 0% interest financing. Mention you heard it from me and receive an additional $100 off any new treadmill or home gym. It's no secret that everyone, from personal trainers to professional athletes, love Top Fitness. Top Fitness has locations in Tukwila, Linwood, and Bellevue, or visit them online at topfitness.com for more info. That's Top Fitness, your best place for home fitness equipment.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
Dave Wyman here, and after 20 years of living in our home, our window seals started breaking. That's when I called Harley Exteriors. They're huge fans of our teams and regular listeners at the station, but what really sold me was their Olympic Series windows, built right here in Washington, designed for Pacific Northwest homes and climate. That means cooler in the summer, warmer in the winter. They're beautiful windows that last up to 60 years, and they'll help with noise, too. Harley Exteriors knows you've been spending a ton on playoff tickets, so they have a special deal for Seattle sports listeners. No interest and no payments for an entire year. Also, buy one window and get the second one 40% off. And take another $200 off your entire project. They're the friendliest team and so easy to work with. You call the number and the person on the other line asks, "How can I make you smile today?" Just give them a ring and tell them you heard our ad. Call 833-HARLEY. That's 833-HARLEY, or go to harleyexteriors.com.
Winter's here, Seattle. Is your roof ready?
Get $500 off by scheduling your free estimate at 3treeroofing.com. Let us make your roofing project easy this winter. Our certified crews deliver worry-free installations backed by industry-leading warranties, even in the rainy season. 3 Tree Roofing, your Puget Sound roofing experts.
You're losing your hair and you simply need a solution that works. You want the best. Modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need world-class Dr. Perungo and his team at Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration. From the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, maybe all three like I had. Get your hair back with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment that begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, including mine. And get this, Advanced Hair is once again the winner of the 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, call 425-449-8185. Right now, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that redefined hair restoration. That's 425-449-8185. Or for the before and afters, visit advancedhair.com.
This is the home of the Seahawks.
Going to let one fly deep. Got a man out there. Ball is caught down at the 10-yard line, and it's JSN.
Seattle Sports.
It's big, it's green, and it's crawling this way. It's $105,000 in cash, and it's here for you. Survive the piggy apocalypse every Friday night in October with hourly drawings from 6 till 10 p.m. with a chance to unearth up to 10 grand. And don't mind the zombies, they won't bite much. Fuel prices got you scared? Save up to 25 cents per gallon at Lummi Bay Market next to Silver Reef by using your Reef Rewards card. Silver Reef Casino Resort, located off I-5 exit 260.
Cancer impacts so many families, including mine. Former Washington Husky Mario Bailey here. My mother was treated for cancer at UW Medicine. As devastating as cancer is, there is hope because the Cancer Vaccine Institute is developing vaccines to treat and prevent the deadliest cancers. Patients who received vaccines over 20 years ago are still alive today. Please join me and make a donation to the Cancer Vaccine Institute at local Safeway stores. Learn more at uwcvi.org.
Hey, it's Tim Hunter, former Seattle radio goofball here with 2 words that aren't funny. Prostate cancer. Get your annual checkup. Keep an eye on that PSA number. And if you hear those 2 words like I did, talk to the folks at Swedish Cyberknife. 5 treatments, minimally invasive and technologically advanced over the other options. If you were a friend, and I consider you one, I'd highly recommend Swedish Cyberknife. We are so lucky to have them right here in town. Do your research, but definitely visit swedish.org/cyberknife prostate.
Dave Wyman here, and we've been fortunate to hear from 2 Swedish Cyberknife patients this year, Andy Ryder and Tim Hunter. Both heard about Cyberknife from our radio ads and completed successful treatment, raving about their experiences. Tim was impressed that treatment only took 5 days. Andy hosted a large international delegation the week after his treatment. If you, a friend, or a family member is diagnosed with prostate cancer, consider treatment with Swedish Cyberknife here in Seattle. Go to swedish.org/cyberknife prostate.
This hour of Wyman and Bob is brought to you by K2 Vision RLE.
Wyman and Bob.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Dave, we opened the show talking about the Mariners and kind of the end, the finality of end-of-season pressers and everything that happened today. Jerry DiPoto, Justin Hollander, and Dan Wilson spoke and kind of put the wraps on the 2025 season. We have to talk about Josh Naylor as obviously the one you bring back. But beyond that, what do you think this team has to do? Because if we look at this season, yeah, unquestioned success. They got to the ALCS. They got to Game 7 of the ALCS. But I think that run covered up maybe a lot of potential questions or unknowns heading into next season. And you looked at the bottom of the lineup and the fact that they didn't really come through towards the end. You might have some positional questions. You have some bullpen questions where outside of 3 or 4 guys, it felt like the Mariners didn't really want to go to anyone else down in those crunch games, in those key moments against the Tigers and the Blue Jays. So you might have all those things. When you look at this team in the course of a baseball season, you know, it's very tough to get all the way back. And you look at the entirety of the roster, where do you see this team needing to kind of go beyond just, okay, that's the easy thing, sign Josh Naylor. What else do you think they need to do to keep themselves in this position?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think my answer would be, Mike, it wouldn't be personnel necessarily. It would be, how do we get more consistency out of Julio?
Yeah.
Julio Rodriguez. I think that's maybe a bigger question than anything else. I mean, look, he ended up heating up at the end, and he was great in the playoffs and everything and contributed everything. But, yeah, I mean, the other thing is you got the number 2 seed, so there's only one more thing that you could have done during the regular season, right? Get the number 1 seed. That's it. So I mean, I almost feel like we're kind of nitpicking there, but you do need him to, I don't know, maybe just for the sanity of our fans, that Julio, be more consistent. And then Jorge Polanco is like, what he's been doing, is that for real? Especially during the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, just get more consistency out of the guys that you have. But Naylor really is the only, for me, in my mind, urgency. I mean, you always want to get Ferguson didn't work out, right? You always want to get bullpen guys and everything. But I have to say, I'm like, the pitching just compared to last year, okay, and this is fair to say, compared to last year, it was a huge disappointment.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the numbers and where they were number 1 or number 3 in almost every category, from ERA to opponent batting average. And this year in 24, they were more like middle of the road and, further down even. I think a couple of them, they're in the 20s as far as their ranking goes. So I don't know. I still think they have the right personnel. I just think it was just certain – I don't know. My mind goes to not so much bringing in someone new, other than Naylor, getting him signed. I feel like it's more about just being a more consistent team.
Yeah. You did mention pitching, though, and that is one thing. If we're going to kind of spotlight one area, it was something that Justin Hollander touched on today, emphasizing the need to add in that area.
You can never have enough pitching. We've been really, really blessed with tremendous talent and tremendous health until this year. And this year we had some of the health bite us. And we got exposed for part of the season, just where we really felt like we were a little naked in terms of the next guy up over and over and over again. And our guys did a great job. Some guys came in and filled in really admirably. We asked a lot of Emerson Hancock and Logan Evans. We asked a lot of, some of the relievers on the team who stepped up, and when that happens, you get guys like Pizarro and Vargas who sort of reveal themselves to maybe be able to deliver more than you had anticipated when you broke camp in the spring. But we're always going to need more pitching. The league tells you a story every year, and if you don't listen to it, you're crazy, is that you can never have too much pitching.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I think a lot of baseball managers will say. And then, it's the same thing in the NFL. Like, I know John Schneider always says, you can't have enough pass rushers.
Right.
You can never have enough pass rushers. It's the same thing with pitching. But, and maybe that wasn't fair. I said they underperformed, and a lot of it was because of injury. And then sometimes that's just good luck. I mean, it's also how you take care of your staff and, all the medical part of it. But they've done a really good job over the years, you have to say, of keeping their pitchers healthy. And they've done a great job with getting the right guys and everything in there. But it was just more than anything, I'm just talking about the disappointment of where the numbers were compared to last year. Because last year we were like, in 2024, like, if we can just get middle of the road offense, our pitching is so unbelievably good. But there was a lot of the pitching stats this year that were more like middle of the road. So that was just in general a disappointment. But as Justin said, a lot of it has to do with the injuries.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think injuries impacted the pitching from guys, especially like Logan Gilbert, who dealt with that arm injury that he had never dealt with in his professional career. He had never really missed any time. Yeah. And then he's out for a handful of months. He comes back. He's not the same in terms of innings and how deep he goes into starts. Kirby's start to the season was delayed because he suffered the shoulder injury in spring training.
Right.
When we were down there, that's when they put him on. The news came out, and then he missed a couple of months to start the season. So, yeah, you really don't know the impact of a guy not having a full buildup, or someone like Logan Gilbert for the first time having to deal with the recovery, getting back into the rhythm, and then dealing with perhaps still not being 100%. We'll never know that for sure, but only he can know whether it was internally or just physically still if he was feeling something. So injuries played a role. Key to hear Justin Hollander say that. Yeah, we got really lucky with these guys because even though Robbie Ray had that pretty devastating injury in 2023, with this group, with this core that they had not really dealt with that. And year to year, we've seen how fickle pitching can be. So, yeah, to get to your point, they had the benefit of that. I'm fascinated to see what they do to complement it with the bullpen because the workload for a lot of relievers was beyond what they've ever pitched. You know, Gabe Spire had the 5th most appearances in baseball, 76 times he came into a game. Edward Bazardo shattered his career high. He had 73 appearances in the regular season. And then, of course, the workload in the postseason. So all these guys, how that impacts next year. And then it goes into the key piece, which is Josh Naylor. And we'll certainly talk about that as well. But, yeah, that's going to be the question for the Mariners. How do they build? How do they sustain what they accomplished this season in 2025? Well, tonight, it's the final Seattle Sports Game of the Week presented by STSPN. Montlake Terrace hosts Edmonds Woodway live from Montlake Terrace High School at 7:30 p.m. exclusively on the Seattle Sports app, seattlesports.com, and the Seattle Sports YouTube page. Dave, we're going to dive right back into the Seahawks. We talked about some of the overall observations going into this bye week, 7 weeks into the season. What about grades, though, for not position groups, but just kind of the key elements of this Seahawks team, the totality of the team, offense, defense, special teams, and coaching? We'll give a kind of a first half grade to those areas. Up next here on Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
4 down territory. Michael Bumpus answers the top 4 football questions of the day.
What have the first 7 games of the season shown you about the Seahawks?
They're low-key deep. I mean, you got Ty Okada out there making plays.
Breakup.
You have Drake Thomas starting now. You got Josh Jobe, who was starting tackles yesterday. Nick Imawari, who's finding himself. Because guys have been hurt, guys have been able to play.
Catch every 4 down territory on the Seattle Sports app.
Do you need glasses or contacts and you're now at the age where you also need readers? K2 Vision RLE is the permanent solution to eliminate the need for all those. Hey, it's Doctors King and Kopstein from K2 Vision. Andy, for those nearing age 50 or so, refractive lens exchange can be a great alternative to LASIK.
That's right, Joe. K2 Vision RLE is a terrific permanent solution for a lifetime of great vision. The older we get, we experience the dysfunction of our natural lens, which affects both distance vision and requires the use of reading glasses. Plus, after K2 Vision RLE, you will never develop a cataract.
And like LASIK, K2 Vision RLE is quick and painless. The question is, which procedure is right for you?
After replacing more than 100,000 failing lenses, we have the experience to tell you if it's your right time for RLE.
Schedule your free Zoom consultation with us about K2 Vision RLE to get your eyes seeing young again. Permanently.
Go to K2VisionRLE.com. K2VisionRLE.com.
Free consultations, no fee guarantees, 5-star reviews. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains the importance of going beyond these familiar offerings.
Accident victims want an attorney, Tom, that satisfies their needs. Someone who handles those needs with the highest degree of care. Pendergast Law offers the no-fee guarantees and free consultations, but these only scratch the surface.
Okay, explain more.
We make sure that every member of our team is genuinely passionate about helping others. Customer service and communication are our top priority. It's how we take care of our clients so they always feel one step ahead of the insurance companies. Our strong reputation for high standards provides comfort and confidence when it's needed most.
Pendergast Law offers the free consultations, the no-fee guarantees, and, of course, they are 5-star rated. But what really makes them different is their genuine passion for helping others. I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
That's PendergastLaw.com.
Paying extra for tire care is BS. You know, bad service. So at Midas, we're rolling out our BS-free tire guarantee, included with paid installation and tax on every purchase. You'll pay nothing for flat replacements, nada for flat repairs, and zilch for tire rotations every 5,000 miles. That's $0 for all that. So with this limited lifetime tire guarantee, you'll pay a whole lot of nothing compared to what the other guys charge for tire care. That's the BS-free tire guarantee, only at Midas.
Remember when they used to ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? At Bank of America, we ask every day, what would you like the power to do? When you work here, you help build businesses, inspire communities, and forge legacies. And now we've raised our U.S. minimum wage to $25 an hour. So the opportunity to do more also comes with competitive pay. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/25. Bank of America. proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
Lowe's knows pros want more. Join My Lowe's Pro Rewards for free to get $20 off your first qualifying purchase of $100 or more just for signing up. Plus, enjoy free standard shipping and more ways to save on your next job. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer valid for new members only. Not valid with any other discount. Free standard shipping not available in Alaska and Hawaii. Exclusions and more terms apply. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Visit Lowe's.com/pro loyalty for details. Subject to change.
Want more Seahawks content? Join me, G. Scott, on The Reset. New episodes of the podcast every Monday and Thursday on YouTube or on the Seattle Sports app.
When you bundle renters and auto with Progressive, you can save while protecting your most valuable possessions, like your priceless vinyl collection. Sure, you sleep on a futon because the money most people would have spent on a bed you spent on more records. But forget the fact that you can stream just about any song ever created for a few dollars a month. No, you need to listen to music in the most difficult way possible. So go ahead and get Progressive so you can save while protecting the things that matter to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America. That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, and bored babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
When it comes to the security of your business, doubts can creep in about who you're trusting to protect it. At Bay Alarm, we got you. For nearly 80 years, we've been putting our customers' minds at ease with our advanced technology and personalized support. Feeling insecure about your current security service? Visit bayalarm.com today.
Luxury has arrived at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Mike Salk here, and it's now open. Hawks Peak, the place to be for game days this football season with over 66 TVs indoor and outdoor. Go to snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Dave Wyman here, and we've been fortunate to hear from 2 Swedish CyberKnife patients this year, Andy Ryder and Tim Hunter. Both heard about CyberKnife from our radio ads and completed successful treatment, raving about their experiences. Tim was impressed that treatment only took 5 days. Andy hosted a large international delegation the week after his treatment. If you, a friend, or a family member is diagnosed with prostate cancer, consider treatment with Swedish CyberKnife here in Seattle. Go to swedish.org/CyberKnife prostate.
Wyman and Bob
from the Quantum Fiber Studio.
Weekdays 2 to 7
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Usually we go position group by position group. It's a staple of this show. Fun thing we do every bye week if it kind of comes around the midway point.
Always judging, always grading.
It's fun to just give out judgment.
That's right.
Put your stamp on something. So we're not going to go position group by position group. I think we still will do that at the whatever they're calling the halfway point of the season. That is a pet peeve of mine. You don't have a tried and true halfway point.
Oh yeah.
You can't. You don't have
the bye should be right in the middle.
Well, no, just the schedule.
Oh, because of
16
the 17
games. The NFL had the best schedule formation and breakdown. You had divisions of 4. You had 16 games, so it all fit perfectly. And then you had 8 home games, 8 road games. Now you have this weird 9 sometimes. Sometimes you get an extra preseason game. You have a random opponent. The scheduling matrix made sense, too, which divisions you'd play every so often. Now it's just go to Detroit 7 times in a row. Or now you're going to Nashville again for, the 3rd season in a row, it feels like. So there's my beef with the NFL schedule in 17 games. But we're getting close to when we do position by position. Figured since it's a bye week, why not just kind of do the overall units? We'll start with offense. In totality, Dave, the entire offense, what grade would you give this Seahawks offense?
I have to give them an A. And the reason why is because, you got 5 wins. The other thing is, in considering what they've been through, right? New quarterback, 2 new receivers, all new coaching staff. I think if you're the number 5 scoring offense in the NFL, which they are, they're getting 28 points a game. They're the number 7 passing offense, 245 yards a game. And then they're number 10 overall in just overall yardage. Now, the one you might say, hey, look, they really got to get this going. And it's really not even that bad. Their run game. They're number 19. So, they're in the top 2/3 anyway of, as far as the ranking goes, they're running for 106 yards a game. But the thing that really is impressive about that is that they're number 4 in attempts. So they're continuing to sort of force the issue. And it's not like they're banging their heads against the wall. It's close. But, it just seems like they run it, up in there, and it's like 3 yards, 4 yards, 2 yards, and they just keep banging away at it. So, I think that's I got to give the offense an A, not only because of those numbers, but then also just considering what they've been through.
Mm-hmm. I might go A- just because of that. I don't want to agree with you, and I feel like we're going to give a lot of A's.
Yeah.
So if I can disagree somewhere, this might be it. Only because it almost cost them another game, and I wonder if we're looking a lot differently at this stretch if they're 4-3 instead of 5-2. Now you can play the what if, hey, maybe they win the Niners game in the opener, so I don't want to really go down that line. But we've seen times toward the end of games, so they haven't been able to close out a game as easily. I mean, the Cardinals game comes to mind where they had that lead in the fourth quarter, double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, couldn't close it out because the run game just couldn't pick up chunks of yardage and to kill all that clock when you need to. Passing's great, and Sam Darnold has helped cover up a lot of what the run game hasn't done in terms of pure production, but when you need to just kill clock, sometimes you have to get the run game going. They haven't so far.
That's right.
This is my long-winded way of saying, all right, A-, not A for the offense, but
because of the run game.
Because of the run game, yeah.
How much do you think? Am I putting too much emphasis on a rookie? That Robbie Oots, when he gets back, I feel like he's necessary in that run game, and not a very big sample size from what we've seen. We all remember the twofer he got in Pittsburgh. Knocked down 2 inside linebackers. But I don't know. To me, I feel like he's going to be a big part of that. And so, I can understand doing the A-, but I don't know. I think considering all they've been through. How about defense? I think, to me, I think it's a B just because they have given up some yardage on the back end. You do have to consider the fact that they don't have their 2 best players the last several games, but yeah, I mean, I guess I'm a little bit disappointed, but I'll tell you what, man, if you want to break it down, I could not be more excited and more impressed about the D-line. It is better than I could have possibly imagined. And one of the things that stands out the most is how much Jaron Reed talks about Byron Murphy. And, when you get that kind of respect from your peers who play the same position, and he's a younger guy and everything, and the way Jay Reed talks about him, also, Jaron Reed himself is a really hard guy to even double team. I mean, he can get through those, and they have 3 guys that are double team destroyers, the other one being Big Cat. So I could not be more happy with that, but, they're number 22 against the pass. They're number 1 against the run, though, to the point of the D-line. Overall, they're number 10 as far as their defense. But I just think there's a few things that they've had a few players that haven't really delivered, in my opinion. 3 of them. Tyrese Knight, I think and this is a compliment to them because I think they're better than what they've been playing. Riq Woolen and Boye Mafe. I think those 3 guys, each from different levels. D-line, Mafe, off the ball linebackers, Knight, and then Riq in the backfield. And I just think if those 3 guys can start to improve and just do the fundamental things, I think that these numbers are gonna continue to get better and better as they go on.
I don't really know where to go with this. As you were breaking all that down, I'm like, I have no idea how to accurately gauge this defense because of how good the defensive line's been, how shaky the pass defense was against the Bucs, but the key caveat there is no Julian Love, no Devin Witherspoon.
Right.
So I go back to that. I'm just thinking, well, look what they've done without these 2 guys for a bulk of the season. And I guess even despite that Tampa game, that was really rough to watch because they could not get a stop in that second half, especially through the air, I'm going to give it like a B+. With that game as the only reason maybe I'm not giving it higher because they have done this, especially in the run defense, and they've been okay. It hasn't led to a lot of losses without Love and Witherspoon.
Boy, you mentioned that Tampa Bay game. That was like over 400 yards and 38 points. And, you know, they're the number 6 scoring defense. You take that game out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, and make it some reasonable number, like maybe 17 or 20, and you're probably number 2 or 3. But,
I mean, just if it plays out any kind of continuity to the first half, where you'd given up some yardage and a touchdown, but not every single time down the field. So it's an outlier, that's for sure. So I don't really know how to gauge that one. And then, all right, quickly, special teams. How would you grade that?
Yeah, you know what? In spite of the fact that Myers has missed 3 field goals, and one of them was 50-plus, but you know, there was another couple, one in Pittsburgh and one in Tampa, I think, that were makeable, or was it Arizona? I think it was Arizona.
Was the one that was missed, then he had to come back down and
he
kicked
the game winner. Yeah. So, you know, you give them, but I'm still going to give them an A, because you had, and tell me if I'm missing something, you had a punt return for a touchdown that was 95 yards and the longest one, and I think they're number 1 in average as far as punt return goes. Kickoff, you had a 60-yarder. Remember the one game, I think it was Tampa, where Riq Woolen had like 5 returns for like 175 yards or something. And then he had that one 60-yard return against the Saints. You had a blocked punt. You've had a blocked field goal. I mean, special teams is killing
Well, and the
it.
only one I could remember, actually, till you said all those, was the one in Pittsburgh, the touchdown on the kickoff.
That too. Yeah, and I totally forgot about that
For
one.
that alone, when you said special teams, I'm like, I can't think of any special teams plays. Oh, that one. Okay. Maybe an A just for that. And then you rattled off all of those. So, yeah, I think, A's all around here for special teams? Yeah,
absolutely.
It's been impressive. All right. Hey, we'll see if Ray Roberts has some grades he wants to give out for these position groups as well. We'll certainly get his insight on the offensive line and everything he's seen out of this Seahawks team through a 7-game stretch and a 5-2 record. He joins us next here on Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
ESPN senior MLB insider Jeff Passett with Brock and Salk.
If you are in the Mariners front office, what are you spending your offseason focusing on?
This feels like a beginning, not an end. I see this being the beginning of the best run in the history of this franchise. The sheer number of really good prospects that the Mariners have lead me to believe that they're going to be in this position again.
Get more on the Seattle Sports YouTube page and the Seattle Sports app.
The LJ way is.
You look at stuff like this and it's like, I don't want to come into an industry and work on a place that is going to compromise how I feel about myself. I got to go to work every day with good people, and I get to enjoy what I do because I'm out there just trying to do right by people I care about, which is our community. We're going to see them at the grocery store. I'm going to see them at the sports tournaments. 2 friends of our daughters came in last night just on the lot, didn't know I was there, and it was cool because you got to take them through, and they're going to buy a car for their first driver and a car for their kid going to school soon. These are the people that you're going to work with, and so you better make sure that your laundry's clean. I don't think Lee Johnson specifically, right, Speedway Chevrolet, where I'm at, I don't think they've ever had a problem with the community of being able to stand up and look them in the eye and know that they did their job well.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
Did you know in Washington State, you can see a physical therapist without a referral from your doctor? That's right. Thanks to Direct Access, you can skip the wait and get the care you need right away. Shannon O'Kelly, how has Direct Access changed the game?
Direct Access for us, Brock, is a game changer. Why? Is because there is so much research and data out there that says if you get in early when you have a musculoskeletal problem or an injury, the earlier you get in and we can start care, the better outcomes and the decreased downstream cost, okay? So it's so important. Our providers are all doctors of physical therapy. They're all trained to identify situations and problems. They've got the skill, they've got the talent, they've got the knowledge. If you get in and start therapy early, we're going to get you back to activity, pain-free, and moving and having fun.
Fast, easy, effective. Direct Access is your path to better movement, starting with a single step. Visit irgpt.com to schedule your appointment today. irgpt.com.
I'm Chris Davis, former King County prosecutor and founder of the Davis Law Group in Seattle. If you've been injured in a crash caused by impaired or drunk drivers, there are special considerations that need to be taken to protect your legal rights. Davis Law Group's team of investigators and lawyers know how to properly investigate DUI crashes and identify all parties who might be legally responsible for your injuries and damages. Call Davis Law Group at 206-888-8888 or get my free book at WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
Every time I turn around, my friends at Pure Talk give me one more reason to feel good about switching. This month, for instance, they're supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat veterans struggling with PTSD. The result? They're saving lives on both ends of the leash. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. I like being in business with an American wireless company who shares my values. Yeah, I appreciate unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and I bet you will too. But I think you'll really appreciate doing business with a company who gives back to the men and women who volunteered to defend our country. Just dial pound 250, say micro. With Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch in as little as 10 minutes. Again, dial pound 250, say micro, to switch to an American wireless company who actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Makita knows that pros never settle, and neither do we. With Makita, you get tools that perform at the highest level on every job without compromise. Makita is for the most detailed pros, expertly engineered to deliver precision, job after job. When your work calls for the best, call on Makita. Makita, built to be the best. Available at the Home Depot.
Ryan Roland Smith here. For more than 35 years, the NBA Health Insurance Trust has been helping local builders, contractors, and their employees save money and gain peace of mind. They offer customized group health plans from the state's leading insurance providers. Small and mid-sized businesses deserve big healthcare access. The NBA Health Trust brings you the coverage you want at a price you can trust. Find out more at MBAHealthTrust.com. That's MBAHealthTrust.com.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Julio Rodriguez, Jorge Polanco, and Cal Raleigh have been named finalists for the Silver Slugger Award at their respective positions. Winners will be announced on November 7th. World Series news, Game 1 tomorrow. The Blue Jays announced their starter, rookie Trey Yasevich. He gets the ball against Blake Snell for the Dodgers. And current Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups was arrested today as part of a years-long investigation by the FBI into rigged poker games backed by the Mafia.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This hour is serviced by the Lee Johnson Auto family.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Wyman and Bob.
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman here with you on a Seahawks bye week. And Dave, usually on a Thursday, you guys have this guy on the huddle, but there's no huddle, so we figured, hey, we got to keep him on. We got to get him on the station on a Thursday. Ray Roberts joins us in the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Ray, how's it going today?
It's going pretty good, man. Anytime there's two or more former or current football players, it's a huddle.
So we're doing a de facto version of the huddle.
So we're doing the huddle.
We had to get our Ray Roberts fixed today.
Perfect. It is. It is great. Ray, when we look at this team, and we've been talking about this, kind of the overall picture of the Seahawks, because you're at almost a natural halfway point, and you're at the bye. So when you look at where they are, 7 weeks into the season, a 5-2 record, what has really stood out to you about this team?
The thing that has really stood out to me, one is that, and this is probably as important as all the other things, is that the defense especially has Mike McDonald's handprints all over it. I mean, this is who this guy, when you meet him, that's the type of mentality that he has. That's the type of mindset that he has. That's the type of intensity that he has. That's the type of resilience and grit that he's shown, in his coaching career and things. And so when you look at this defense, it is every bit of that. And then the other part of that is that this is probably the most dominant defensive front that we've had here in a long time. And you're talking this over with Paul Moyer earlier, in the post game or the pregame last week, from Joe Nash and Jacob Green and Jeff Bryan and all those guys, all the way to Sam Adams and Cortez and both Mike McCrary and Michael Sinclair. Then you had Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill and Mebane and that whole crew, and now you have this crew. And so the Seahawks have done a really good job when you think back through it of really putting together some really good defensive lines. And this one, I stated at the post game that, a couple years ago I went to training camp and I remember walking past the defensive line and just thinking man, there's not one dude here that when I broke the huddle, I'm going to make sure I know where he is. And now they have 4 or 5 guys like that. You break the huddle, you want to know where Big Cat is, then you got to find Murphy, then you got to find Lawrence, then you got to find Uchenna, then you got to find Mafe, and then you got to find Reed. They have some gotta find dudes on that defensive line that's really getting it done. And then I think offensively it's coming along. I think Darnold has exceeded my expectations. I'm not going to lie. I just didn't expect him to be this type of player. I didn't expect him to have this type of poise and calm and command of the offense and the respect of the team and all that kind of stuff. Some of the passes he's thrown, I've been giving Paul Moyer all kind of flowers for the last 2 weeks, but Paul even said that he thinks that just from a talent perspective, being able to make all the throws, that he might be one of the better quarterbacks ever play for the Seahawks. Now, production and winning and all that kind of stuff is something else, but just from where he can place the ball, some of the passes that he's making, the short passes, intermediate passes, the explosive passes, he has quite an arm there. And then obviously you can't say anything Seahawks without saying JSN. And I don't even know if you have to follow that up with anything other than JSN.
What do you think makes JSN so big? I've asked, or so good, because he's not that big. He's not. He's not built like a. I don't know. He defies what a number one receiver is all about, really. And I've tried to, explain, one of the things I think he does well, Ray, is that when, he comes back to a ball, I think he logs where the defenders are. And so when he turns around, he always either, gets down if he's going to take a shot or, he knows which way to turn or whatever. But it's just very interesting to me because I don't know if you were in that production meeting where Michael Bennett, when he's got his high voice and he's kind of well, you're not that big, you're not that fast. What makes you so good? I was that was exactly the question I wanted to ask. But it's kind of interesting from that regard that I guess he just runs really good routes and he's got great hands, right?
Yeah, sometimes dudes just have it, and it's hard to kind of put your finger on it. And
right.
But I remember when they were at Ohio State and they had those 3 or 4 receivers. I think G. Scott Jr. was part of that too. And they sat them all down and they were like, who's the best receiver in the room? And they all pointed to JSN.
Wow.
And he wasn't the biggest dude in the room. He wasn't the fastest dude in the room, but they all pointed to him and said that, Chris Olave, all those dudes, This is the guy. And sometimes, Dave, you see the numbers on the paper, height, weight, 40 time, and you go there's no way this guy's that good. So I'm just going to, I'm not going to sweat it. I'm not going to stress over this guy. And then all of a sudden he's running right past you. I remember playing against Leslie O'Neal when he played for the Chargers.
Yeah.
And He wasn't a big, strong dude. His biceps weren't popping out of his jersey. He wasn't going to beat anybody in the 40 time. And so when I played against him, for some reason, I would just always not have maybe the same intensity I would have if I was playing against a Derek Thomas. And this dude would just feed me my lunch every time. And I'm just like, gosh, dang it. Like, okay, Ray, get your head in the right place. But he was great at, like, all the little things, setting up this pass rush early in the game so that when it came down to a play he had to make, he could go to his go-to move, slapping my hands down, like really quick, like head fakes and different things like that. Out of all of the Hall of Fame dudes I played against, no one gave me as much trouble as he did, and I knew what he was going to do every time. But he was one of those dudes that he wasn't going to, like, excite you with his 40 time or with his power or with a bull rush or some unbelievable move that he had. But he was just a dude that had that it thing that he could get to the quarterback.
Ray, what have you seen out of this offensive staff and the play calling and how that has helped not just JSN and Darnold, but the offensive line as well?
Yeah, I've always said that the development of your offensive line and offensive linemen has everything to do with play calling and play design as much as it has to do with, like, teaching them the techniques and the kick steps and the pad level and all that kind of stuff. And this team, in the offseason last year when they came on and they didn't sign any free agents, and then they were like, hey, we have trust in the guys that we have here. We think we can do it with these dudes. And I thought that was just them just covering up for not being able to sign any of the free agents. But it has turned out that they have the guys that can run what they want them to run. And are there moments that they need to be better? Yeah. Have they mastered the whole thing? No. But the thing that I love is that, last year's staff kind of panicked when they couldn't quite figure out what offense to run. And this offense hasn't panicked at all. This staff hasn't panicked one single bit. And, if you look at the running game, it's not as pretty as you would like. We haven't had, like, the consistency that you would want. But at the end of the day, they're rushing the ball for over 100 yards, and the running game is having an impact on all those explosive plays that they have throwing the ball. So I can't, I'm happy with where they are. I got to sometimes tell myself that the run game is going to be ugly for a little bit. And then you look at the numbers at the end of the day, and the two running backs last week rushed for a combined 115 yards, and they averaged almost 4 yards a carry. I mean, you can win Super Bowls with that stat. And so I'm happy with where they are. And the other cool thing is that it was at the halfway mark last year when everything started to come together for the Seahawks. Like, that's when the defense took off. That's when they kind of figured out what they could and couldn't do on offense. And so the way this staff goes about self-scouting, I don't expect anything different. I think the uptick will be on the defense if they can get any better. And then I think you'll start to see that running game be a little bit more efficient.
Going back to the D-line, and you mentioned every guy. I'm just curious, like, when you're looking at that from an offense, you're an offensive tackle, you're an offensive lineman, and you're looking at those guys. I mean, what is it? I think it's like Jaron Reed and Murphy and Big Cat all seem to be like you can't double team them. they're gonna win that battle. But when you look at it from that perspective, what makes those guys, other than they're just huge, but what makes that group so special?
Well, the thing that I think that makes them special is when we had, I think it was Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett on the 12-man flag raisers, and we had them at the pregame. And I asked them, like, what made that defense so good? And he said, and Cliff Averill said, you know what? There were times where I thought I could make the play, but the assignment called for me to sacrifice my play so that Michael could make the play. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's starting to happen on this defensive line. And, we said early in the season that Big Cat needed a Robin to the Batman, and it needed to be Byron Murphy, and it has been Byron Murphy.
Yeah.
And so he, with his sacks, you heard Lawrence say that he is actually the key to their run defense because he has to fight a lot of double teams, and he creates a lot of disruption within the line. He's not going to get the tackle and the stat, but Dave, when we coached together, you remember you said, hey, if you're a guy that gets to make a tackle from the inside out, you get up, you need to go shake the hand of the guy who set the edge. Like, that's the type of stuff that's the type of stuff that's happening on that defensive line. And you have dudes that are uber talented, and you have dudes that are uber strong. I mean, to watch Big Cat, like, treat double teams like he's going against the Pee Wee League. It's just unbelievable. I mean, the dude like bursts through a double team like he's like Superman busting through a building, and it's just unbelievable to watch him toss around grown men that like not just one but two of them. You know what I'm saying? And so it kind of reminded me of the Philadelphia Eagles front seven back in like 1992 when they had Reggie White and Jerome Brown, and they had Clyde Simmons. Yeah. And so when you say when I break the huddle, I was happy that I had the least of them, which was Clyde Simmons, and he was still a really good football player. But I was like, okay, as long as Reggie doesn't come over here, I can deal with the rest of this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when you break the huddle against the Seahawks, you're probably going, okay, I don't have Big Cat. Okay, I don't have Murphy. Let me just see if I can work with, Lawrence or one of, Chenna, one of these kind of guys. So they have a freaking phenomenal defensive front line, and those dudes are playing some really good football. I think Uchenna and Lawrence are really starting to set the edge and feed them back to the bad guys, like we always say. Yeah. And so I just can't wait to see how strong they finish the season.
Ray Roberts here with us on Wyman and Bob. Ray, as we look at the offensive line, and Gray Zabel, and a lot was expected of him when you draft him in the first round, you throw him right into the mix. How do you think he's done so far?
He's looked like a rookie. He looks like a rookie who deserved to be the 18th pick in the draft. I mean, the guy is athletic, and he can also play football. Sometimes you can find dudes that are super athletic, and they can't freaking bust a grape. But this dude can play football, and he's athletic, and he's had his moments where he's struggled, but that's to be expected. It's a lot to learn in the trenches like that. But he's also had his moments where he's played some really good football, and you can see just his willpower, his talent. You see him always down the field trying to finish blocks. He's just naturally a tough dude. Like, he doesn't have to carry on and make it, act like he's a tough guy. He's just a tough dude. And so I love the way that he's been playing. He hasn't seemed to be, I haven't seen one game where he's had a mistake and then he's gotten down on himself. He just has always just come right back with the same poise, with the same approach to it. And he's been able to play some really good football. And I do think that because he's playing better football, it's allowing Charles Cross to be a better tackle, and it's also allowing Sundell to be effective at center. And even Bradford, Bradford has had his ups and downs, and he's had his moments where you're going, why is he running back towards the line of scrimmage? But he, to me, overall, he is still playing some better football than he was last year. And then Big Abe, I think, is still kind of rounding into to the Abe that we know and respect. And hopefully one day he can get that neck roll off. I think it's kind of making him a little stiffer than he normally is. But I think the offensive line, they're playing some good football. They're trying to figure out the run game and the angles and how to get to the second level. And that stretch zone is really hard to master because you got to get vertical movement and you have to get horizontal movement kind of at the same time. So it can be a little bit hard to master, but they're doing it in a way that those plays are the ones that are creating the big pass play. So I'm happy with where they are.
Hey, shout out to Eric Kennedy, by the way, who built that neck roll for Big Abe.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's cool to see actually, because it's kind of a throwback look for sure.
Yes, it is.
But hey, what about special teams, Ray? We were talking about them, and I listed like a whole bunch of things, and I had totally forgotten. Then Mike filled in with, we got a touchdown on the kickoff in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. But I mean, every guy on that team knew the rule, basically, and I thought it looked like maybe two of the Steelers did. But, just that, I mean, and then I mentioned the block punt. There was a 95-yard punt return. There was a 60-yard return by Riq Young, who has just been nails on special teams. But, you know this as a coach, that a lot of times, the special teams gets maybe like 10 minutes of practice or something, and a lot of coaches give it lip service, but they've done an amazing job, and that's in spite of Jason Myers actually missing, I think, 3 field goals that he's missed that were, for him makeable. But he's also won games for us. But that part of the team, I think, sometimes gets overlooked, and they have been phenomenal.
The thing to me, Dave, that indicates is that the guys have bought into what their role is. Because the special teams isn't the most glorious thing to play. And running down, having to block dudes, getting blown up by other guys, all these different kinds of things. And so, But when you see the guys who are committed to it and you're starting to make plays and they understand their role in it, then to me, that's when the good things start to happen. When I coached ninth grade girls select basketball for Woodensville one year, and we had this one player, Maddie Ramirez, and she's actually the granddaughter of Tony Ventrilla, and she was probably the best shooter. She was probably the best shooter we had on the team. But when we put in our second five, we needed somebody that could score points. And so I just went to her and I said, hey, Maddie, like, I know you want to be the starter, but this is what I need you to do. I need you to be the scorer with our second five. And when you're in there, you got the green light. If you create space, take the shot. You know what I'm saying? And so she didn't like that she wasn't a starter, but once she embraced her role, man, she was scoring just as many points as everybody else. And so I was just like, hey, like, if you're open, you have the green light to shoot. So she went on to play like some small college basketball, and she would text me every now and then, hey, Coach Roberts, I'm still shooting it, because she embraced the role, and we needed that. We won a lot of games and some tournaments because she was able to give us points off the bench. And so that's, to me, it's similar to what they're doing on special teams when you own what they're asking you to do. Yes, you want to be a starting receiver. Yeah, you want to be a starting linebacker. Yeah, you want to score touchdowns and make big plays in the secondary. But this is what we need you to do. And those guys have bought into it, and I think you start to see the impact of that with their production.
Ray, coming out of the bye week, are there any questions you have about this team? Anything you haven't seen yet from a player or a position group that you're looking forward to, that you need to see over this final chunk of the season?
To me, a continual growth of the execution of the run game with the offensive line, because there's going to come a game where Sam Darnold may not be on his game, or the JSN might be nicked up or whatever it is, and you're going to have to run the football when they know you're going to run the football. And that's when they have to be able to make some yards, create some first downs, give those guys some space to run. They've done a really good job scoring touchdowns inside the 10, which is awesome. So you don't have to put the ball in the air down there. There's a greater chance we're going to run the ball in. But it's just that the consistency of their run game. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 games ago, like, they had 30 plays that were either negative yards or no gain in the run game. And most of those are on that outside stretch and the tall stretch stuff. But if they can get more efficient at that stuff, where it can be something where you go like, hey, it's 4-minute offense, we need to run the football, and they have confidence that they can get it done. To me, that's what's going to elevate the team to then make a deep run in the playoffs, or to win the NFC West, to kind of be one of those top-tier teams, is when the running game, you don't have to rely on that second half kind of, one of the running backs gets an explosive play, and so then that kind of puts you over 100 yards rushing. You want to be able to have that consistency in first and second down, where you work for third and short and medium, and a lot of that rides on the running game on that first and second down. So that's what I would love to see improve with the Seahawks in the second half.
Speaking of the run game, one of the guys that, and this is a question that I would ask you, that you want to see a little bit more of, and to me that's Robbie Oots. Now, obviously, he has been, he's been injured, but I don't know. I love the concept of having a fullback in there. But who is a guy that you would like in this second half of the season here after the bye week that you'd like to see more from?
You know what? Like, it's funny because I would have to say it would just be there's 3 dudes, and 2 of them play the same position. So the 2 running backs, I think they're starting to figure out how they work in this system. They both can't run the same play the same way because they have different talents and different skills. Right. And the one thing that I'm liking about K9 is when they run that outside wide zone, he commits to he runs hard to the outside, because you have to. It's a long way to go to capture the edge. So there's not a chance. You don't want him thinking cutback in that situation. If the hole kind of drifts way vertical like that, you just kind of roll into it. But you want him to run to get to the edge, because it's going to help you set up the block. So when he does that, he seems to run that play a lot better. And then Charbonnet, I think, started the year pretty good, and I think he got nicked up, and now he's starting to kind of find his way back. But the dude that I really want to see start to really blossom is the tight end Arroyo, because this dude is a threat. You can put him out wide, match him up against some of the smaller DBs, and he has a size advantage. You put him, closer attaching to the line of scrimmage, he has a speed advantage, an athletic advantage on some of these linebackers. And the dude is just a football player. I don't know if you had the chance to talk to him, Dave, but we got to interview him on Bumpus and Paul's show that they do at the mall, and he was talking about learning football in Spanish, and then coming to the States and playing in Texas and realizing that he wasn't big when he got to Texas, and he ended up being a tight end. But he was like, dude, I'll play running back, I'll play tight end, I'll play offensive line, defensive line. I just like playing football. And that's the type of dude that Coach McDonald likes. I think he epitomizes the attitude and the mindset of the player that they want to have on this team. And you saw him do some really cool things in college. And so I want to see him be able to kind of get loose and break loose from that tight end spot. And then we have that 1-2 combination at the tight end spot, the same way we have in the backfield, and that we're also developing at the receiver spot with Cooper Kupp and JSN.
Yeah.
Always great stuff from Ray Roberts. Ray. And more importantly, we learned you don't have to wait for the huddle. This is the huddle.
Yeah.
We had Wyman.
You have two or more players. It's a huddle.
2 or more.
Yeah. We had the huddle. Thanks, Ray. We appreciate it.
You guys have a good one.
Big dog.
All right, Big Ray Roberts there. Yeah, you usually hear him on the huddle from 12 to 2 here on our station, but no huddle this week because of the bye week. So why not? We got him on, got some great insight there, and it's good to know that you have the huddle there with the two of you guys.
Ray always has the best answers, man. And no offense to Paul Moyer or any of our other regular guys.
He's going to text you right now, Dave.
Yeah.
You know what Paul's going to say? Nuh-uh.
Yeah, nuh-uh.
I have the best answers. I dropped that on him yesterday. He disagreed with me on something that we can get back to. But, yeah, always good stuff there. Appreciate Ray Roberts' insight on the entirety of this Seahawks team, not just the offensive line, but he, of course, is the O-line guru there. We're going to get back to the Seahawks in a little bit, but a lot more Mariners to dive into, including a potential risk the Mariners are making going into next season. We'll get into that up next. Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman with you. It's Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
ESPN senior MLB insider Jeff Passett with Brock and Salk.
If you are in the Mariners front office, what are you spending your offseason focusing on?
This feels like a beginning, not an end. I see this being the beginning of the best run in the history of this franchise. The sheer number of really good prospects that the Mariners have lead me to believe that they're going to be in this position again.
Get more on the Seattle Sports YouTube page and the Seattle Sports app.
I saw her texting coming up to a stop sign, and so I saw the accident coming, and she T-boned us.
In the blink of an eye, Crystal's life changed when she suffered a severe spinal injury.
The pain was something I had never experienced before in my neck. I got massage therapy. I saw a chiropractor. I was prescribed muscle relaxers so I could sleep. I got depressed. Nothing was relieving the pain.
Drugs, sleepless nights, and depression. Sound familiar? I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist. At Sound Pain Solutions, our treatments include high-dose laser combined with spinal decompression and other comprehensive therapies to rehabilitate damaged discs. We use treatments that are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, drug and pain-free.
I was able to get off my pain medicines, and I was able to sleep through the night, and that was what I was desperate for.
To learn if you're a candidate for our treatment, call us. Sound Pain Solutions. 855-996-0025 or click soundpainsolutions.com.
At Bible Law Group, our team reflects the same lessons learned by our founder, James Bible, while playing for legendary Husky coach Don James. Coach James always said it's amazing what gets done when nobody claims credit. That's the philosophy we carry into every case, because your victory is what matters at Bible Law Group. When your legal problems hit biblical levels and you feel like you're stuck in a lion's den of litigation, you need a legal team that won't back down. At Bible Law, we've secured over $40 million in settlements for our clients, and we're ready to fight for you. Find us online at BibleLawGroup.com.
Change is always happening. It's part of life. And when it comes to music, change is all around us. Songs are rewritten. Classics are remixed. Bands and artists come and go. Even our taste in music changes. Here at Xfinity, we know there's still good in keeping some things the same. That's why we want to do our part with a 5-year price guarantee on our internet. It means no matter what changes, you get 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with our best equipment included for a price that stays exactly the same. Surprised? Life is full of them. One internet price, 5 years, guaranteed. Learn more at Xfinity.com/deals. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, August 2024.
If you're 55 or older and into that whole saving money thing, T-Mobile has an exclusive phone and internet bundle just for you. Right now, get 2 unlimited phone lines plus 5G home internet for just $30 each per month with autopay, plus taxes and fees. And with 5G home internet, setup is easy with just 1 cord and no technician needed, which is great if you're also into that whole keeping it simple thing. Switch now and experience the best mobile network in the U.S. Visit your local store to start saving. T-Mobile, it's better over here.
Based on analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q4 2024 to Q1 2025, Ookla trademarks used under license, unlimited on our network. Customers on voice plan may know the speeds lower than other customers and further reduction if using more than 50 gigs a month due to data prioritization, video streams, and SD on this plan. Home internet pricing after $20 a monthly bill credit plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com.
The home of the Seahawks, Seattle Sports.
Touchdown! Seahawks! Ken Walker III!
Get everything Seahawks at seattlesports.com.
Fall rains can expose hidden roof problems, and once water gets in, the damage only gets worse. Is your roof ready for the season? Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. At State Roofing and Exteriors, we repair and replace roofs with a quality you've trusted for decades. And yes, we also provide siding, windows, decks, and gutters to keep your entire home protected. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to schedule a free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
As a quarterback, you cannot run a winning play with a messy playbook. And most companies' data, well, it's a mess. AI is changing the game, but if your data is scattered, you're stuck on the sidelines. Brock Heward here, and this is where my friends at Marquee Data come in. They get your data in shape, clean, connected, ready to perform, so you can finally put AI to work for your business. Whether sales, finance, or operations, every smart move starts with the right data. So head to mydataqb.com to draw up your game-winning data play today. That's Marquee Data or mydataqb.com.
Stacey Rost here from Seattle Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, this is for you too. Stubborn fat is really hard to get rid of. And then there's all those gimmicky lasers, fat-freezing methods, prescriptions. But imagine a simple solution that takes just one day and provides immediate, noticeable results. Introducing ProSculpt. ProSculpt uses air-assisted technology that's safe and gentle, yet powerful, delivering instant fat-reducing and skin-tightening results. Performed by board-certified plastic surgeons while fully awake, ProSculpt contours your body with minimal downtime. It's designed to target problem areas: waistline, face, neck, arms, thighs. ProSculpt gently removes unwanted fat and tightens loose skin with FDA-cleared plasma technology, all in a simple, guaranteed one-day procedure. ProSculpt is one and done. For your free consultation and $250 off, visit prosculpt.com. For powerful permanent fat removal and skin tightening that works for ladies and you men, it's prosculpt.com.
This hour is serviced by the Lee Johnson Auto family.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Wyman and Bob.
Weekdays 2 to 7
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
There was a lot to unpack from what we heard earlier today from the Mariners. I don't want to call it a press conference, just kind of a end-of-season conversation. They had Jerry Dipoto, Justin Hollander, and Dan Wilson kind of available to talk to. So you had some media scrums kind of going in and around, passing by, asking questions. And a lot of what they talked about after, of course, talking about the pain of the season ending, was the next steps and what you do this offseason, the priorities, the beyond Josh Naylor. Dave, I think the interesting question is, what do you do with Geno Suarez? The commonly held assumption is maybe he doesn't come back because it would cost a lot of money. But if that's the case, do you feel like Ben Williamson's ready? And you don't have a starting third baseman. If you move on from Geno, you don't have a solid veteran at third base. So I guess my question to you and the texters, do you want to re-sign Geno Suarez? And is Ben Williamson ready?
Yeah. I would say yes. I mean, you look at what he had, a 253 average. Now, the thing is with, and you want power at the corners, right? The first baseman and the third baseman. He's a 604 OPS. But, I mean, is that something that he can, get better at? as far as, can he lift more weights? And I mean, really, it's not that much about size, right? He's 6 foot, he's 210 pounds. He's big enough. I mean, like you said, Altuve is a power hitter pretty much. So, I mean, he had 1 home run, but he had a 253 average, 21 RBIs, and he plays a really good third base. So, I mean, if they decided to come back with him and they decided to not re-sign Eugenio Suarez, I wouldn't be mad at him. I wouldn't think that way. But I would think that way if they didn't sign Josh Naylor, because I think who do you have?
That's the thing. There's no viable option at first.
No.
There is, I guess, at third if you feel that way. So, yeah, we'll throw it out there to texters again. Do you think they need to re-sign Gino Suarez? 866-979-3776. My concern would be if you don't, you're putting a lot on a guy that did not really perform towards the end of the season, then you didn't need him at the end of the season because you had Suarez. So you're going in, taking a step back, at least veteran presence, perhaps defensively, we saw what Ben Williamson can do, but also what Gino Suarez can do. And there doesn't seem to be a downside of letting Williamson sit and wait a little bit longer. And if by midseason you need him to come in, great. I just fear what we've seen after like a 2022 where they didn't get guys to help him out. Now you do have the guys here. You just have to bring them back. Or a 2024, or even at the start of this year when the presumed third baseman was going to be Jorge Polanco to start the season. And then they had to alter all of that. So you have that stable option. If Ben Williamson is coming off the bench maybe to start, and Cole Young, who they kind of go hand in hand, if they're coming off the bench, you can always give them that role if they earn it, a month or two into the season. Nothing says that this team at midseason has to look the same as it did at the start of the year. So that's going to be an interesting question. It sounds like, Justin Hollander is certainly well aware of balancing having veterans and the development of these young guys who have a lot of potential. And he outlined kind of how they plan to move forward with Williamson and Cole Young next year.
I spent some time on the plane back, a few minutes with Ben Williamson and Cole Young, just telling them how proud I am of them. It's really hard to come to the big leagues and essentially, jump from most of the AAA experience and do it for a good team. And those guys did it on a good team, and they made real contributions on a good team, and they carried themselves the right way every day, and they fit in with their teammates, and they did a great job. And it is a challenge to integrate young players. I think that there are teams that do it. We're going to have to be one of those teams that do it. It's a disservice to those players to never give them a chance to break in, succeed, fail, and then succeed again. So that they are going to be a part of what we do going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Cole Young, that's really cool, first of all, of Justin to, go back and talk to those guys and just thank him. Because, we didn't really hear a peep from Ben Williamson. He was playing well, and then all of a sudden at the trade deadline you get Suarez in there. But I don't know. I mean, I wonder how much also Eugenio Suarez means to the team.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the year last year, Cal was like, hey, we need to take a next step and we need, these guys. And, he didn't name anyone specifically, but he just, like, in general, wanted them. And I think one of the things that stood out to me this year was in a press conference, I think it was after a loss, but Dan Wilson, when one of the games that we did from the booth down there in the postgame, said Eugenio Suarez's superpower is that he's the same guy every day. And I just think, as much as we think about Naylor and how important he is to that clubhouse, Eugenio Suarez might mean more to those guys. So but I don't know how much it's going to cost. I don't know how much they're going to, have to end up spending, and if they're in the mood to do that. But I'm still on the Suarez. I'm not so sure that Ben Williamson can become take that big of a step as far as being a power hitter in just one offseason.
Yeah, we're just talking about a few months, too.
Yeah.
I mean, spring training is in February. It's a few
Right.
months away. So it is a lot to ask. Now, eventually, the plan is probably to have Ben Williamson as your future third baseman and Colt Emerson somewhere and Cole Young probably at second base. They have to take those steps, though. So Hollander also outlined how they develop those young guys in this promising farm system, one of the best in baseball, if not the best, and how it becomes major league ready over the next couple of seasons.
There's going to be a lot of guys that come through over the next couple of years. It's our job to build a roster that can support the growth that they're going to need to have in order for us to reach the ceiling that we need to have, which is going and winning a World Series. You can't do that without developing your own homegrown players and your own homegrown difference-making players. These guys aren't role players. These guys are everyday guys to all-stars to maybe more than that. And we need to find a way to make sure that we give them enough runway to show what they can be, while also making sure that we give our team the steadiness and the foundation to go out and win the division.
I'll tell you, there was one weekend, and I think it was a 4-game stand with the Rangers, where that was the Friday night. I think it was Friday night where we did the show from down in the booth, and that was the night that JP hit the walk-off homer. And I think he was he hitting 9th then or 8th?
Yes, he was low in the lineup. Yeah, it might have been 9th.
Yeah, it was 8 or 9. Anyway, I remember looking at the numbers of the 7, 8, 9. And that's something that we realized, in that series with Toronto. Their 7, 8, 9 guys were money for them. I mean, they came through, and that was kind of a difference there. But I just remember it standing out, not only, the hits, but also the walks and just getting on base and scoring. And, that's probably where these two guys are going to be, right? Cole Young and Ben Williamson. But I thought the encouraging thing about Cole Young was, and he's even smaller than Ben Williamson. So again, the size part doesn't matter, but he hit like a 440, was it 430?
Oh, yeah, at first it was like 476.
They said 70, yeah.
It's back to like 456, that home run.
But still, I mean, that's some serious power. He had 4 home runs, but his OPS was right about where Williamson is, right? It was like, I think 607. Williamson was 604. So, yeah, I mean, you need that, and I think that Toronto series kind of taught you a lesson that, you got to be top to bottom. You can't have the 7, 8, 9 just lagging, and they really did so in that series with Texas, and I think they won 3 out of 4 in that one.
Yeah, because even if you have everyone back, you still are hoping you get more lineup depth. Even if you bring everyone back that we mentioned here, they're going to be free agents, Suarez and Naylor and Polanco if he turns down his player option to go along with Julio and Cal, and you need the more impact from Arozarena. That still might not be enough to compete with someone like the Blue Jays. So that's why I feel like Suarez is essential, even though, we're getting some mixed reaction, and his performance down the stretch until those couple of games in the playoffs didn't necessarily warrant it. He does a lot for this team and lets you do other things with young guys like Williamson and Cole Young, and doesn't put the immediate pressure on them. And that's the most important thing. If Ben Williamson's your opening day third baseman, it's a lot of pressure on him to come out and perform immediately, because there's not a good viable option if it doesn't work out right away. If he can develop, you give him time to acclimate, and you have the benefit of, well, we could go with Suarez, we could go with Williamson as you get towards the second half of the season. I just think we have overwhelmingly said Naylor's the priority. I would hope Suarez is just like right behind him in the calculus for how they approach free agency. We'll talk about that plenty more. We'll talk about it with Shannon. Shannon Drayer joins us at 5 o'clock. But up next, we're going to hear about a new perspective on life that Bengals quarterback Joe Flacco has. That's when we sweep the dial on Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Sean Payton is a bully.
Bump and Stacy.
He went out, tried to bully Russell Wilson on the low.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
I don't care how you feel about Russell Wilson. I think that Sean Payton, he saw an opportunity to take shots at a guy that he felt like wasn't going to say anything back to him. I've heard that he's a decent guy, but in that moment, that was some bully activity right there. Russell, I'm proud of you. Clap back at him and called out some facts, too. So I'm proud of Russell in that moment.
Only on Seattle Sports on 710. Seattle Sports on YouTube and the Seattle Sports app.
Hey, it's Dave Wyman here for Harley Exteriors, and after over 20 years in our home, our window seals started breaking, and that's when I called Harley Exteriors. They're huge fans of our teams and regular listeners of the station, but what really sold me was their Olympic Series windows. They're built right here in Washington, designed for Pacific Northwest homes and climate, and that means cooler in the summer, warmer in the winter. And they're beautiful windows that last up to 60 years, and they'll help with noise reduction as well. Harley Exteriors knows you've been spending a ton of money on playoff tickets, so they have a special deal for Seattle sports listeners. They're offering no interest and no payments for an entire year. Also, buy one window and get the second window 40% off, and they'll take another $200 off your entire project. And they're the friendliest team and so easy to work with. And you call the number and the person on the other line asks you, how can I make you smile today? How about that? So give them a call and tell them that you heard our ad right here on Wyman and Bob. Call 833-HARLEY. That's 8333-HARLEY, or go to harleyexteriors.com.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
For over 50 years, they redefined rock. The spirit lives on. Lee and Alex Lifeson celebrate 50 years of Rush. 50-something tour, Saturday, October 10th. Climate Pledge Arena. Buy pre-sale tickets for City Card members Friday at 12 p.m. through Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Before the general public on sale Friday, October 31st at 12 p.m. Get tickets at rush.com.
Comcast Business can help turn your small business into a connected, secure, modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How healthcare offices become the data-protecting caregivers that we all depend on. And how wealth management firms become cyber-securing guardians of your information. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, and Wi-Fi backup, your business can stay connected and get threat-ready with Comcast Business. Powering possibilities.
Now through November 16th, new Comcast Business customers can get started with 150 megabit internet plus security for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig package. Call today. Restrictions apply. Requires enrollment in paperless billing and auto pay with bank account. Early termination fee applies. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
Call 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS to reach a friendly live agent. Donation's super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now, 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS.
Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
This is the home of the Seahawks.
Gonna let one fly deep. Got a man out there. Ball is caught down at the 10-yard line, and it's JSN Seattle Sports.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, October 25th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
Stacy here, and if you're in the market to sell your car or explore getting a new one, I have to tell you about the coolest thing. It's Wayscar Ford's vehicle profit sharing program. Here's how it works. You sell them your old car at fair market value. You can sell it that day, get paid right away. The whole thing takes about 30 minutes. Then when they resell it, they split the profit 50-50 with you. It's not a consignment. It's a way for a trusted local dealership to avoid things like auction fees and then split savings with an actual customer. Listen, I am someone who sold an old car years ago and got completely ripped off. It was also later involved in a crime. I don't have enough time to tell you about it. It's another story for another day. But I wish I would have known about this program, and it's why I'm telling you about it now. Other people are finding out Wayscar Ford just surpassed sharing over $1 million with customers who have sold them their cars. Sell your car for top dollar and get a share in half the profit when Wayscar Ford resells it. Why would you want to sell your car anywhere else? wayscarford.com. That's wayscarford.com.
Scanning the airwaves for the most interesting and entertaining stories of the day. Sweeping the dial. Every afternoon at 4:45 with Wyman and Bob.
Presented by Silver Reef Casino Resort.
Dave, I'm going to ask you if you can relate to this one, mainly because neither Matt nor I have kids, so you're the only one who can relate to this. But Joe Flacco was asked, well, he's Bengals quarterback now, obviously, but he was asked how he's been handling being in Cincinnati while his family is still in Cleveland.
You know, just kind of take myself out of that mindset, call home, go sit at a restaurant by myself and realize that, man, that's pretty enjoyable to do. You know, after there's not too many situations. I tell people all the time. I mean, I used to see guys sitting at a bar by themselves, or you know, just sitting by themselves eating and grabbing a little meal, and I'm like, man, I feel so bad for that guy. Like, you almost want to go join him. And now I realize, like, that dude was in heaven. And not to say that that's obviously not what I want. I'd rather be at home sitting at the dinner table with my kids and hearing what the hell they were talking about all day. But if you have to do it, then you might as well take advantage of it.
Dave, your family's not listening. Is that true? You feel that way sometimes?
Well, I mean, I think more than anything, it's nice to have some quiet time and some downtime. But I'm trying to look up how many kids he has. Can't find it, but you got to admit it is kind of like you get to spend time with football and only football. You don't have to worry about all the domestic problems that are going on. So I can understand that. I'm like that sometimes. I mean, when my kids aren't around or I haven't seen them in a while and my wife's out of town or whatever, for about 3 days, up until the laundry starts to pile up.
Oh, hold on.
That's when all of a sudden I really miss her.
I found it, according to Wikipedia, which we know is always right. But this might explain why I want some peace and quiet. They have 5 children. 5 kids. Okay. I get it now why the thought of one night spent alone by yourself might be a little more appealing.
That's less than half of the number of kids that Sean Alexander has. But yeah, I mean, I can relate. I appreciate the humor there. You don't hear that much from Joe Flacco.
No, didn't realize he was that funny.
But yeah, that was good stuff, and he's being very honest because, you know, your kids and everything give you perspective. Like, you have a really bad day at the office, you have a bad game, whatever. You come home and they don't care. So, I mean, there is that part of it, but I like the honesty there. I appreciate that.
Sweeping the dial.
We started the show talking about this crazy scandal that has ensnared former NBA, well, I assume now former NBA head coach Chauncey Billups, a gambling scandal, rigged poker games, and it's a convoluted, very dense amount of info you have to read and maybe get through. But here was one part of it. U.S. Attorney Joseph Nacella explaining how the rigged poker games work that Chauncey Billups was a part of.
Defendants in this case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. The scheme targeted victims known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. The so-called face cards included the defendant, Chauncey Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach. What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam.
How wild is that?
That's not even the most corrupt part of it, I guess, is that, you know, certain players were sitting out of games in order to, you know, get the betting line taken care of. So this is going to unfold into, and every time that you've read it, Mike, you've done it for the snapshot. At the end, you always use the word mafia.
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time we heard that?
That's a big part of the story, and I think it's worth highlighting because you're right. You don't hear a mafia-involved racketeering scheme.
Right.
It's the 1920s out here.
Sweeping the dial.
So from that point of seriousness to the other extreme, there was a big deal made about the Ravens removing the ping pong tables from their locker room because they're 1-5, and so this always comes out. Inevitably, it happens across all sports, whether it's a baseball team off to a terrible start or a football team taking out the, quote, distractions. So John Harbaugh mentioned that earlier this week. Kyle Hamilton was asked about it, and he didn't even seem to know or realize that the ping pong tables were gone, nor did he ever really use them.
I don't know. It wasn't my decision. I don't really know what. I didn't even realize they were gone, to be honest, but I guess it's kind of a big thing now, but I wasn't really in tune with the whole thing going on, but I don't think it's that big a deal whether it was players, coaches, whether in the locker room, out the locker room. I don't know if that's really affecting us on the field that much, but, you know, if we felt like we needed to do that as a team, then I'm all for it.
I was just looking at John Harbaugh's, his regular season record is 173 and 108. His postseason record is 13-11. And, you know, and that's been kind of a thing with
Lamar Jackson.
With Lamar Jackson as well. So, yeah, I mean, is that a message that they're sending? Like, maybe a coach walked down there and was like, hey, you're supposed to be in film, or you're supposed to be doing this and
they're
that.
1-5, so maybe it doesn't go over as well when they're having fun. But
yeah,
it seems like a scapegoat, right? Just like let's try to figure a way to get this team back on track. I don't know. Does it really make a difference if they have a ping pong table or not?
I mean, look, they're winning, and it's not a problem at all. But, I mean, I just think you're trying to send a message there, is that, hey, how about we spend more time in film? And especially if you go down there and guys are whooping it up and laughing and having fun and everything, and then, you know, you look at your record and, you know, people are going to lose jobs over this, right? So, but John Harbaugh, very underrated coach, I think, and a lot of it has to do that it's, you know, it's not like it's unfounded because the playoff record is not great. But, yeah, I mean, that's one of those things I think that a coach probably is sending a message.
Yeah, I think it's more crazy to me just the simple fact the Ravens are 1-5. That's stunning. Lamar Jackson's been hurt for a good chunk of it, but at 1-5 from a team that was expected to be a Super Bowl contender, pretty stunning right now for Baltimore. All right, a lot to talk about with our Mariners insider, Shannon Drayer. She was there today at the end-of-season pressers where we heard from Jerry DiPoto, Justin Hollander, and Dan Wilson. We'll bring her on to give us all the latest on that and how it all ended in Toronto. Some interesting firsthand stories from Shannon about the end of the season there in Toronto. We'll catch up with her next here on Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
4 Down Territory. Michael Bumpus answers the top 4 football questions of the day.
What have the first 7 games of the season shown you about the Seahawks?
They're low-key deep. I mean, you got Ty Okada out there making plays.
Breakup.
You have Drake Thomas starting now. You got Josh Jobe, who was starting tackles yesterday. Nick Imawari, who's finding himself. Because guys have been hurt, guys have been able to play.
Catch every 4 Down Territory on the Seattle Sports app.
Luxury has arrived at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. It's Mike Salk here. You can book now for an unforgettable experience. Let's talk about Hawks Peak. It is the place to be for game days this football season. With over 66 TVs, indoor-outdoor concept, the deck is covered and it's heated as well. And the food, oh man, it was excellent. All with breathtaking views of the Cascades and the Snoqualmie Valley. Yep, you can go to snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Hi, I'm Justin Shirley. We offer 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments for 24 months on new roofs. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF now. State Roofing and Exteriors. Held to a higher standard since 1968.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates honesty, and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
Coach Saban here. On the field or on your walls, coverage matters. That's why I go with Behr Marquee Interior Paint and Primer from the Home Depot.
Exceptional hide, advanced stain blocking, and over 1,000 colors to choose from. Behr Marquee delivers one-coat coverage that stands up to real life. One-coat coverage, no overtime. Behr Marquee, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Valid only when tinted to colors from the Behr Marquee Interior One-Coat Hide Collection.
They say a full marathon is the ultimate test. For me, it's more than a race. It's a milestone I once thought impossible. Michelle Smallman here, and I'm running my very first marathon in New York City with the support of Gainbridge and Gainbridge Assists powered by Parity. Together, we're empowering girls and women through sports and education with grants to 32 organizations in 21 states. Every step I take is for the finish line and for the next generation chasing their dreams. Here's to 26.2 miles and a future with no limits.
Let's talk about your hair. Well, maybe after we talk about my hair. I've got great hair, as you know, and it's because of Advanced Hair. Yep, Advanced Hair Restoration. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results that I can attest to. Guys, it's not magic, but it's close to it. They put hair where you need it most, and bam, it grows. It's actual science. Advanced Hair has top-rated physicians, modern technology, and best of all, you get your very own natural hair that begins to regrow the very next day. It's even guaranteed to grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now at 425-449-8185. Mention Curly to qualify for $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. It's a limited time offer. Advanced Hair, the winner of the 425 Business of the Year, and the team that gave me my hair back. More importantly, they'll do the same for you, guaranteed. 425-449-8185 or advancedhair.com.
Did you know that most people wait 6 or 7 years before they buy a new TV? That's a lot of time in front of one TV. So why not get one of the best sets for the next 7 years, like one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony models? Too expensive? What if you could get up to $1,000 trade-in for your old set? Who would do a stupid deal like this? Right now, at Video Only, you can get big bucks for your old set as a trade-in and a hot price on the new models. Don't be sorry. Check out Video Only.
Georgetown License reminds listeners 460,000 children are reported missing in our country every year. Parents, please plan with your kids a safe, visible route to and from activities with at least one friend. Coach your kids to stay alert and be aware of their surroundings, and caution your children to never accept gifts or rides from strangers. Best wishes to all our kids from the entire team at Georgetown License, taking care of all your vehicle and vessel licensing needs for over 30 years. Online at georgetownlicense.com.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Nielsen ratings are out for the ALCS. Game 7 of the ALCS averaged 9.03 million viewers, making it the most watched ALCS game in 8 years. And according to Nielsen, the audience peaked at 12.35 million for the final inning. Elsewhere for the Mariners, Julio, Jorge Polanco, and Cal Raleigh have been named finalists for the Silver Slugger Award at their respective positions. Winners will be announced on November 7th. And in the basketball world, current Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups was arrested today as part of a years-long investigation by the FBI into rigged poker games backed by the Mafia.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
from the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Wyman and Bob.
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman here with you, and now joined by someone who, Dave, we saw earlier today, and we figured, hey, we saw Shannon Drayer. She's got a lot to talk about. Let's bring her back on the show to catch us up on everything that happened with the Mariners today. So our Mariners insider, Shannon Drayer, joins us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Shannon, you were there. You saw all this in person. You know, we were hearing all the sound. We saw some of the videos, but can you just kind of sum up the mood today of this final press conference setting?
Well, it was emotional, and I think Jerry DiPoto described it as still being in a stage of grief, as he expected many Mariners fans were. I think that it really established, I think, the level of shock at how quickly everything happened and unraveled, and how painful that was for them and the investment that they have in this team. And, Justin Hollander was, there were tears a couple of times when he talked. One of the times was when he was talking about how he was getting so many text messages from his friends and friends of his wife that were fans. And he understood how the fans felt, and he teared up when he said that. So, it was a very different situation. We have these end-of-the-year press conferences most years, and most years it's the three, the manager, the general manager, excuse me, and the assistant general manager up at the podium. And this time they were in separate parts of the room, and you could go to whoever you wanted to talk to in a group. And it was not, all focused forward at the start. It was, we're still processing this right now. This was a huge and painful disappointment, while understanding that there is only one winner of the World Series. There are only two teams that go to the World Series. Anything can happen, but there was such a level of belief, and, the players are feeling the same way right now, that, the pain is very deep right now.
Yeah, Shannon, I was kind of talking about this, that, my experience was that, when you get in the playoffs, you just think, hey, we got a shot, man. We can win it all. And then just the suddenness of when everything just ends, and all of the things that you enjoyed watching, like Cal's year, and all the awesome interviews that you did with him and all that, it kind of all seems like for naught, right? I mean, look, this is a very successful season for the Mariners, but yeah, either way, it's still like there's almost like a disbelief. It feels like, that it's actually over, right?
Yeah, and I think that really points to just how hard baseball is. Think about it, that if you go that deep in the playoff, these guys have been playing in some form for every day for the last 8 months.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, that's how much they put into it. You talk about blood, sweat, and tears. It's all there in that time. And for it to stop, and you know what it does to your routine, what it does to your family life, what it does to everything in that time, and to be at one level for so long, and then to have everything, I know we did the playoffs in 22. This was, this isn't going to shock you. I don't have a ton of experience in the playoffs, but this really got me at how hard it was. In that everything was 2 days, and every game was so big, and the swings, the emotion swings, and, trying to take it all in and trying to give it back to the fans, and seeing things that maybe I didn't expect to see, like music in the clubhouse after some losses. And they were doing that because they had to put everything behind them so quickly, which you wouldn't see in the regular season. The pace is insane. This group made 6 cross-country trips in 14 days.
Wow.
And I think you could hear it in my voice, and Justin Hollander said the same thing. He's like, sorry, it got a cold, traveled. It's been all these days. And he said, every day, been on every trip, and I'm feeling it right now. And those guys are feeling all that too, and they never say no to taking the ball, and they're out there every day, and they're doing what they do. I think even for Hollander, there was even more of an appreciation for a group that he says that he loves, and that's another time that he teared up. Just the realization of just how tough a baseball season is, and then the ending, after a good season, is so cruel.
Yeah. Shannon, well, we won't keep you for too long because you're pulling double duty. And as you said, you're fighting a cold there. So we appreciate you working overtime here to help us out with all this important info. Well, when you look at Dan Wilson and his entire season, what a whirlwind for your first full year as a manager to come here, to have a stretch at the end of the year where this team surged not just into a division lead, but the number 2 seed in the whole American League, then all the way to the ALCS Game 7, but then to have it end with some questioning of a decision you made. What do you think he takes away from the playoffs and this entire season going into his second full year?
Ooh, that's a lot. I think we did see him learn, and I also think we saw him bring in some really great and underrated tools. I mean, he's responsible for that clubhouse being where that clubhouse was, and that was a huge part of them getting to where they got. When they say that group of guys loves each other, that's not hyperbole. I mean, this is a special group. They are very close, and they don't pull off what they pulled off starting, September, whatever, after the team meeting, a couple days after the team meeting in Sacramento. They don't pull that off without being as together as they were. And I think a lot of that does come from Dan Wilson. He also was incredibly steady. And with all the crazy things that were going on, he never reflected that, I think, to the team. I think that he was very even. They knew what to expect from him, and I think that that helped quite a bit. We also, excuse me, sorry again. We also saw him make what I think we would call rookie mistakes, and I can't verify that they were all mistakes. I'm going to say that probably, it's a small percentage of what a lot of people thought were mistakes, but there were mistakes throughout the year, and we saw him learn from a lot of those. And, he is different. He certainly is making more gut calls than we've been accustomed to seeing. And sometimes they go the right way and sometimes they don't. But I think he's learned. I think that, we saw in the division series how he used the pitching. He got burned once and he didn't do it again the next time. Don't pitch to this guy the next time, or, don't use this reliever here in this situation. So I think that he'll take a lot away from the postseason because it's completely different from the 162 that they played before. And he's had that experience as a player. He has not had it as a manager. He's a smart guy, and I think that he will, make good strides with that.
Kind of a general, wide-open question, but how do you think he handled it? Because I feel like he handled it really well just because, people are going to point the finger at, and nobody ever thinks about, what about the good calls that he made. But just as far as the way he handled it, he's like, hey, I'm the manager, I know that this is what it's all about, I'm wearing it, and that's pretty much all you can say, right?
And I don't think you need to say much more, but I don't think everybody always says that, and he did. There are processes. He is given information. There's a lot that goes into what decision are you going to make in this moment? And then there's the moment. Do you make that decision, at the right time and make the right decision at the right time? But ultimately, as you pointed out, it's on me. That's my decision. I'm the manager. And I think that's what you want to see from the guy who is at the top. And Jerry Dipoto, very much defended and said that there were lots of options and things, things happen. Things get moving quickly. And in a postseason. And he said that he is not going to ever fault a manager for going with what he believes in if he had all the knowledge in front of him, what he trusts and what he believes in. And that was the move that Dan Wilson trusted and believed in at that moment.
Shannon, we heard from everyone today about Josh Naylor, how much of a priority that is. So, that's the obvious one for the offseason. I'm not going to ask you about him, but beyond that, how much of a priority do you think Gino Suarez is? Because I know the production maybe was not up to what they expected, but he also came through with 2 of the biggest home runs in franchise history in the postseason. And Dave and I have been talking about, his presence, what he does in the clubhouse. Where do you think this ranks in terms of we need to bring him back, or we might have other options we feel like could make up for not having him back next year?
It was really interesting because the talk from all 3 of them was that they wanted to keep the core together. Mm-hmm. That, this group is a group that they believe in and they believe will move on from and learn and be better for what they saw and what they went through in this season. But the other thing is next year is going to be so interesting because they're also committed to bringing up those young players when they are ready. And Ben Williamson is one of the ones that's on that list. Colt Emerson is on that list. I think they're pretty committed to Cole Young. I would imagine probably see a Cole Young, Leo Rivas combo next year. They believe in Leo Rivas as a bench-type player on this team as well, and somebody that could fill in, for a longer time and take some at-bats at second base. You still have room for Polanco because you could put him in that DH spot. So I would think that ideally and practically you could take two of the three that we're talking about, the free agents. Three would be awfully hard to fit in. So I think a lot of it's going to depend, on what Josh Naylor does. And if Josh Naylor doesn't sign with the Mariners, you could see Jorge Polanco over there next year. He did a lot of work there in season. He did not get into a game, but I'm not saying he could play there every day, but it might be a situation like you saw with him this year and how much he plays. But they were very happy, and Perry Hill was very happy with what he saw from him at first base. That could be an insurance policy of sorts. I don't know if it's going to turn out like that. I do know that, Naylor first is absolutely what they are going to go after. But if you did end up in that situation, maybe then you can take Gino, and he can be helpful in integrating some of these younger players and perhaps do, more of a split third base DH type situation. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think, I think he obviously is not on the same priority as Naylor is. And part of that is Gino's age. And he did fade a little bit down the stretch, but they do love what he brings to this clubhouse. So I think he's on the radar, and I think they have to wait and see how it plays out with all three targets.
Well, speaking of a guy that has a huge influence over that clubhouse, Cal Raleigh, and this year, Shannon, you had a chance to talk with him, and have you got a chance to kind of reflect back with, of all the things that you heard from him during the season, and then also just what were his emotions when you saw him afterwards?
His emotions when I saw him afterwards is he was trying to get out of the clubhouse because he was about ready to cry.
Yeah.
That and then we did see that in the video that came out of the clubhouse afterwards. He was very polite and trying to get past us, and he was still processing. And for him to say this season is a failure, that hurts. You don't want to hear that, but he says they set the standard, they set the bar, and they didn't reach where they wanted to get. I hope, and it might not even be this offseason, and it might not be next season, I'm hoping they get to where they want next year and can look back on this season as being better than it feels like it was right now. I think this was a very important season for them, and we won't know until you get further. It's if this you hope is a springboard to the next level, and if it's not, then I think it will remain a painful season. But Cal, to me, it just really affirmed, I think, a lot of the things that we saw in him. It was just on hyperdrive. He's an incredible leader. He is incredible in how he takes on everything that he takes on, and how he schedules his time, and how regimented he is in everything. One of my favorite things was in one of the press conferences that they had in Toronto. He was up on the podium, and it was the day that they released the Gold Glove nominees or finalists, and he wasn't one of them. And he was asked what he thought about that and what he thought about, the metrics or that show things. And he's not a huge fan of the metrics. He's always been very clear about that. But then he said, he pointed to something that happened early in the season. You think back to the beginning of the season when we found out that the umpires had actually shrunk the zone or the shadow zones a little bit. And it didn't appear to really affect the batters very much, but perhaps it did affect the catchers. And his framing numbers were not great. And he said, or not as good as they were the year before. And he said, I don't have time right now, but it's something I will certainly look into this off season. It's something that he's going to tackle. It's not, I got a platinum glove, I'll always have this platinum on my chest protector. No, he's going to assign specific things that he works on in the off season, and that's going to be one of them. And he was already thinking that, 5, 6, 7 days ago, which I thought was so impressive, but so him as well.
Shannon, we also heard from Justin, and he mentioned you can never have too much pitching. And we've heard that sentiment echoed a lot. And we saw, unfortunately, what happens when you have injuries to starting pitching like they did for most of this chunk of the season. What do you think happens with their pitching? It sounds like they might still try to add or bring up some guys. Or I know he sounds like he wants to add more, but what do you think that actually looks like and plays out in the offseason?
Well, when I talked to Jerry DiPoto, he did say that bullpen is a focus, which that's interesting because usually they don't do much on the bullpen end, or at least they didn't last year. The last couple, they find players and they turn them into. But it sounds like maybe they're going to target something in the off season, which I think should be absolutely they should do. And I thought that last season too. As far as the starting pitching goes, I'm right there with Justin. I mean, had they traded Luis Castillo and not gotten back something near equal last offseason, they would not have been where they were at. Right. So I think that, they have to find a way to protect themselves a little better from what happened this year. In that you had multiple injuries, which it's hard to predict that you're going to have 3 starters down, but they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Shannon,
we gotta let you go take care of yourself.
We appreciate you coming
warm
on.
Tea, maybe with honey in it.
You had a long season as well and a long cross-country flight back, so we appreciate all the insight. Get some rest, and thanks for joining us again today.
You got it.
All right. There's our Mariners insider, Shannon Drayer, fighting through injury, though. She's a gamer.
Well, and she came in here today. She is a gamer. And that was, some of the travel stories we heard about for the media. It was like, their phones weren't working. And then, there was like, okay, the bus leaves in 20 minutes and you got to tear down everything. I mean, it was quite an adventure and not in a good way.
Well, yeah, I imagine it's such an abrupt end to a season. So, with all the back and forth travel, like this extreme series had, like Shannon mentioned, all those cross-country flights, you know how travel can get you, can weaken the immune system. So it did sound like some people were fighting through some illnesses towards the end there. It is wild to think. I still go back to game 1 of the ALCS, where the Mariners are coming off a 15-inning win on a Friday night here. They get on the plane. They just fly right to Toronto. The Blue Jays are rested. Mariners roll in. And yeah, sure, we'll win a game 1 here on Sunday to come off that extreme travel. And then the fact they did have to do it. And, it kind of leads to the bigger picture of that series, of the unfortunate nature of having to go back to Toronto. When you came back home with a 2-0 series lead, had you won it there, where you win 2 games and you don't have to get back on a flight and fly cross-country again, and then go back into that home environment that was kind of rocking when the Blue Jays had a chance to clinch. So all of that kind of built up towards the end. But it was interesting to hear that final picture from Shannon, who has been around the team more than anyone, right? She talked about 8 months for the players. Shannon Drayer, our Mariners insider, she's down there like day 1 of spring training. So she pretty accurately summed up the picture of this team. And I am really curious, Dave, what we see out of Dan Wilson moving forward, because this was year 1 and this was inexperience through no fault of his own. He was put in that position, and a lot of what Shannon kind of broke down, a lot of what Dan Wilson did in terms of demeanor and how he had that steady touch on a team seemed to be perfect for this team throughout the course of a season. A group of veterans, you don't need to be overly demanding. You don't have to be micromanaging at times, but then also the contrast in the postseason. And to have a run like this, you'll learn a lot, and you learn right away in day 1. So I'm curious if this is the start of a sustained run where we see the Mariners get back in this situation, how differently, or what Dan Wilson does now because he has this experience and he's seen what can go wrong and how to kind of build from that.
Yeah, and that's something that's like down the road as far as settling with the grief, right? I mean, you have to, go through the painful part of just realizing, and I remember, with things like that in my life where it's like you wake up the next day and it's just a little bit better, and then it's just a little bit better, and then all of a sudden you just get back to work. But yeah, that will be interesting to see how Dan is, next year and the year after that, because, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this right now, but I mean, he's possibly AL Manager of the Year. I mean, he's going to be in that discussion anyway. And, and the other thing about what he did this year, I think the best part of coaching is getting the best out of your players. and identifying what are they really good at and where do I need them, and kind of putting those guys in that position. And I think maybe one of the conversations going into before this year was maybe with Cal that, you need to be more of a vocal leader, and you need to be, and he's already a great leader by example, but, he's kind of a shy guy. And you put him in a position where, he really has to be, a leader and really develop into that role. And it was kind of cool watching him this year. And, Shannon did a great job interviewing him every week. But, yeah, just to kind of watch him slowly develop into this amazing leader. And, to be able to be in the same conversation as Johnny Bench, I mean, I'm sure that entirely overwhelmed him. But he never showed that.
Right.
Never showed that. So, yeah, I think that's the thing about Dan is that, this is going to be something that he's going to look back on, and it's going to be incredibly valuable for him. But it's hard to talk about that right now, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think when you look at where this team might be better off to sustain than they were coming out of 2022 is, of course, based on what happens this offseason in bringing back those veterans. And that's why I point to Gino Suarez as being a key piece to bring back, maybe just for that. Because going into this postseason run, the Mariners only had 4 position players. They didn't have a lot of postseason experience on their team, on this Mariners team. But you had brought in guys like a Josh Naylor or a Jorge Polanco who had postseason experience, and you saw how important that was. So if you get rid of a lot of those veterans or you don't bring them back, all of a sudden you're resetting. And now, not to say that Ben Williamson and Cole Young won't be instrumental pieces for you, but you don't have that presence that I think was so important in the Tiger series, where look who came up big in 2 starts against Tarek Skubal, Jorge Polanco, who had the home runs against him in Game 2, had the game-winning hit, or Josh Naylor, who batted absurd numbers in the entire postseason. Cal, who had been through that run, one of the few position players for the Mariners who had been through it, doing that. So just the totality of kind of needing, that heartbreak or hardening yourselves after frustration like this, you got to bring back that core so they can build off of it. But getting back to everything that Ryan Dempster told you guys on Tuesday, this could be something that ultimately helps them get past where they've never been before. So I thought that all was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's a great point. The 360, Mike, first of all, he said, did Bro just say symbiotic? That was
that was yesterday. Yeah,
that was you yesterday.
Yeah, that was me yesterday.
Yeah. But he also texted back today, or he or she, when does it get better, Dave?
Oh.
I still haven't gotten a good night's sleep since Monday. This bleeping sucks.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We're here for you, 360.
Unfortunately, it doesn't get better until next season, so I can't offer any more advice than that. Or spring training. If you see him on the field again, hope springs eternal, and they say that for the bad teams. The Rockies say that when they take the field for their first spring training practice.
Surely not the
pitchers
Rockies.
and catchers. Okay, surely not the Rockies, but every other team saying that. So unfortunately, the pain, you're going to sit in it. We're going through the 5 stages of grief right now, and you're fully in that mourning portion of it. But our thanks to Shannon Drayer and everything to help unpack that. We mentioned the offseason priorities. We're going to get into the undisputed offseason priority number 1 coming up next. Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman with you. Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
ESPN senior MLB insider Jeff Passett with Brock and Salk.
If you are in the Mariners front office, what are you spending your offseason focusing on?
This feels like a beginning, not an end. I see this being the beginning of the best run in the history of this franchise. The sheer number of really good prospects that the Mariners have lead me to believe that they're going to be in this position again.
Get more on the Seattle Sports YouTube page and the Seattle Sports app.
Hey, it's Dave Wyman here for Swedish Cyberknife. And on average, 1 in 8 men in the U.S. will be diagnosed with prostate cancer during their lifetime. Many treatments are available, especially locally, but I recently spoke with someone who underwent treatment for prostate cancer in February. Tim Hunter. He's a lifelong local radio host, and Tim underwent Swedish Cyberknife treatment the week right after the Super Bowl, and it was literally a week for him. All it took was 5 days in a row, with each session lasting less than an hour. He said it was about 45 minutes each session, and he chose Swedish Cyberknife because it was only 5 days of treatment versus several months with other treatments. And on top of that, Swedish CyberKnife had by far the least interruption to his daily life. No surgery, no catheter, and the recovery was incredibly quick. And Tim heard about the CyberKnife treatment from our radio commercials right here on this show, just like you're hearing right now. So if you, a friend, or a family member is diagnosed with prostate cancer, go to swedish.org/cyberknifeprostate. And remember, you don't need a physician's referral. Again, that's swedish.org/cyberknifeprostate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish CyberKnife.
We are well into the rainy season, Seattle, but it's not too late to get your roof replaced. Schedule your free estimate at 3treeroofing.com and get $500 off your roofing project this winter. Our certified technicians build a custom plan for your home, ensuring a worry-free installation even in the winter months. Replace your roof now while material prices are low and lead times are short. Stop wasting your time on costly repairs and Band-Aid fixes. Visit 3treeroofing.com to schedule your free estimate today and secure your $500 discount. 3Tree Roofing, your Puget Sound roofing experts.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Every time I turn around, my friends at Pure Talk give me one more reason to feel good about switching. This month, for instance, they're supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat veterans struggling with PTSD. The result? They're saving lives on both ends of the leash. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. I like being in business with an American wireless company who shares my values. Yeah, I appreciate unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and I bet you will too. But I think you'll really appreciate doing business with a company who gives back to the men and women who volunteered to defend our country. Just dial pound 250, say micro. With Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch in as little as 10 minutes. Again, dial pound 250, say micro, to switch to an American wireless company who actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Want more Seahawks content? Join me, G. Scott, on The Reset. New episodes of the podcast every Monday and Thursday on YouTube or on the Seattle Sports app.
Eric Johnson here. I spent the past 30 years working to help make our community better informed, better protected when it comes to consumer issues, and better equipped to take on whatever life throws at us. That's why I love the free Washington Accident book series from Davis Law Group. These books keep us better informed about the law, better able to protect ourselves on and off the road, and better off when all is said and done after an accident. Chris Davis didn't have to write these books. He did it because he saw a need. People who were in accidents or other legal situations didn't know what to do, what pictures to take, documents to request. Only a tiny fraction of the people who get these free books will ever become clients of Davis Law Group, but that's not the point. Chris wrote them because it was the right thing to do. The free Washington Accident book series is a must-have for drivers who want to be prepared for whatever the road might throw at them. Get yours at WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
Hey, it's Bob Stelton here, and I can see clearly now. It's amazing. Let me tell you about one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. That's when I went to K2 Vision for Refractive Lens Exchange, or RLE. Dr. Kopstein started K2 Vision with Dr. King from King LASIK, the most experienced LASIK surgeon in the Northwest. King LASIK plus K2 Vision equals freedom vision for every stage of life. No glasses, contacts, readers, or cataracts. So if you're somebody that struggles with distance vision and now you always need a pair of reading glasses, K2 Vision RLE
RLE could be your perfect permanent solution to spending your good active years not needing reading glasses. And here's the capper. You're never going to develop a cataract. I'm somebody that needed readers in every room of the house. I needed to see the scoreboard out at ball games. I just couldn't see clearly. That has all changed thanks to RLE. Whether it's LASIK, EVO ICL, or RLE, trust the most experienced team of doctors to point you in the right direction. Schedule your free Zoom consultation today at K2VisionRLE.com. That's K2VisionRLE.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Wyman and Bob.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Wow, final show of the week for Dave Wyman.
Yeah.
Get your mean texts in now or tomorrow when he's not here. 866-979-3776.
Yeah, I told him it's not Friday, numbnuts, but
and then you didn't realize it was your Friday.
It is my Friday.
Yeah. That was like
So go ahead.
I heard the tale, Matt, of how you had to help Dave cut a string cheese earlier today.
No, I mean,
was
look,
pretty funny.
The string cheese things, if you know what it's a certain product.
The thing you peel open.
Yeah, it's supposed to have like a little flap or whatever there so you can pull the plastic apart. There was no separation there. Somebody had either heated it up and pressed them together or put it in a press or something. There was no way to get that open.
They fused it together, the plastic?
Yeah. And so I came in to get a pair of scissors to cut it open, and Matt's like, no, let me do it. I'm like, no, I'm not letting you touch my cheese stick.
When Dave came in to get a pair of scissors, I thought that was finally it for me. He just got sick of me. Wanted to say goodbye.
So you did have to actually cut it
So I was going to kill you?
Yeah. I will say, though, kudos, Dave. You didn't just try to eat right through the plastic.
Well, yeah, some people do that. Well, when it's wax. We had
a texter bring that up.
Yeah.
People don't forget.
Mike ate the that was a long time
I
ago.
do have a hankering for wax now. That was my first month with you guys. That's why it was so funny. You're like, who is this person? Which is almost 5 years ago now.
Are you eating? Wow. Are you eating the wax?
Yeah.
That really left a lasting impression
It
about
did.
the kind of guy Lefko is.
Well, it just says a lot about him. He's going to get his food no matter what.
That's true.
So
that hasn't changed. So yeah. All right. Well, we talked with Shannon about some of the priorities this offseason, and we didn't ask about Josh Naylor because that's the obvious one, it feels like. And everyone addressed it today, including Justin Hollander. And he first talked about the bond that he built with Naylor and then the potential of the Mariners bringing him back this offseason.
I've never really had a problem connecting with Josh. Maybe a bit less of an open book for you guys than for me. I found him to be very easy to talk to, fun to be around. We're really smart and a joy and easy to talk with. And the way that the transaction worked, we were on just the time we were on the road when we acquired him. We came home for a little bit and we were back on the road. And really starting with the series in Atlanta, when I started sort of being with the team full time, just the chance to spend a few minutes with him every day or every couple of days. I think he's kind of an easy person to spend time around. I think his teammates really like him. And everything I got from him was that he really liked it here and, was able to spend a few minutes with him after the game. And, definitely a priority for us. He fits in great here. And just a really good person, easy person to like.
You know what's interesting is that my comp for him would be Riq Woolen, who's also a Canadian.
Wow.
But that interview that we had with him, I thought was fantastic. He revealed to us that he thinks it's a hitter's ballpark here, and that he loves the fans more than, and he said his family loves the fans as well. And the other thing is you can count on him being honest. He's painfully honest. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like Mike McDonald a little bit too, would be kind of a comparison there. But comparing him to Riq Woolen, Luke was just a kind of a quirky guy that was just funny. And I don't think he tried to be funny. And that's the same thing with Josh Naylor. But he really endeared himself to the fans, number one, and then his teammates for sure. So, that's cool to hear that from Justin. And I think, and this may sound hokey because it all comes down to numbers and everything, but still, if you really like the organization, I don't want to put a dollar number on it, but you'll take less money. You'll take less money to be in a better situation.
Well, and Jorge Polanco might have done that this offseason. We didn't know it at the time. That would be a big signing for the Mariners, but he was getting consideration from the Astros, notably, and then one other team, but he had liked the familiarity of the Mariners. He had been here the year before. He liked the rapport he built with the front office, and look at how big that was. So if that's what it takes to get Josh Naylor, and yeah, fans, great job. You did your part in convincing him to stay, because he mentioned it numerous times how much he loves it here, how crazy it was here, the ground shaking, and how wild that was. So I think the fans have certainly done their part in helping convince him. It sounds like the front office did a lot of really good things to help kind of guide him. Hey, if you really want to be down this path, it's not just strictly X team is going to bid the most money for you, which some team might open up their checkbook and way overpay, and maybe he does that. But if numbers are comparable, everything you were just lining up there, that perhaps could be the difference maker.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, you're not just paying for his numbers. You know, you're paying for what he brings to this team and everything. And you saw that, and specifically during the playoffs, like, he was on base trying to give, location by putting his arm up, to the hitter. Then he, tries to headbutt a double play ball that, and I loved what Ryan Dempster, he was talking about. His wife was like, why would he do that? And he's like, honey, he is trying to win. He's trying to, he's doing everything he possibly can. So, yeah, I mean, I just think there is, like I said, I'm not trying to be a Pollyanna. It comes down to money, but, I think, like, for Cal, he probably could have gotten more money by hitting free agency, and then, he ends up he ends up signing the contract that is going to keep him a Mariner for years to come. And that there's definitely, I mean, especially these days where it's like, okay, are you going to take $12 million to go somewhere else where you may not win, or will you settle for $10 million here where everything is, that's $2 million, but I mean, these guys are making such ridiculous numbers that they can kind of afford to be like, well, I'll be choosy about this, and like, I'd rather stay here and win in this environment with less money.
Yeah, and for everything that maybe we didn't get from Josh Naylor in terms of, he's not going to open up about his off-the-field life. He is very expressive when it comes to baseball-related things, but it did sound like playing for a championship team is very important to him. And the Mariners right now are a championship caliber team. So I think that's a great point, too, that I don't feel like the way Josh Naylor's wired, and we were in there plenty of times talking to him. You guys had a great interview with him. I was in there every game of postseason, listening to him, talking to him at his locker. Dude wants to win. He's not going to go to a team like the White Sox that maybe they could pay a lot of money now, but they have no chance of winning anytime soon. Or the Marlins, who randomly might spend a lot of money on a free agent every 10 years or so. So it feels like he has maybe a few options, but the Mariners are going to be there at the forefront. And I want to believe, based on what we've seen over the course of the trade deadline, and even, I guess, back to the start of last season with the extension for Cal Raleigh, that this front office and this ownership group now understands this is what it takes. They've seen the results of what happens when they do go for it. And everything that led to it, the fan interest, the town, the entire city coming behind this team, the players that came here. You invested in rentals, which they hadn't done in the past, and it paid off this season now to make that commitment and what it could lead to. So we'll see. It comes down to them making that commitment, but it feels like there are signs, and there's a little bit of a track record now going back to the trade deadline that they're willing to do that.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because, Jerry has always been about just build from within, right? And he took the farm system from like number 30 or 29 or 28 to number 1 by a lot of different publications. And, so when you're that hyper-focused on that's how I'm going to win, we're going to build, you got, a taste of what it'll get you when you go into the trade deadline, and they didn't end up giving away that much, at least as far as name recognition goes. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're right to put it that way, that, management learned a lesson there, that's what you need to do.
All right, well, we'll come back and find out everything we learned today. It was a wide array of stuff to choose from. We'll see what Matt picked. All the best of the learning that takes place on this show. Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Sean Payton is a bully.
Bump and Stacy.
He went out, tried to bully Russell Wilson on the low.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
I don't care how you feel about Russell Wilson. I think that Sean Payton, he saw an opportunity to take shots at a guy that he felt like wasn't going to say anything back to him. I've heard that he's a decent guy, but in that moment, that was some bully activity right there. Russell, I'm proud of you. Clap back at him and called out some facts, too. So I'm proud of Russell in that moment.
Only on Seattle Sports on 710. Seattle Sports on YouTube and the Seattle Sports app.
I had a young woman who was on a new SUV, and she had attachments to her old car because it was her first car, and she had questions because she was doubling her spending budget, and she was very fiscally responsible. It was almost making her sick. And the best path at that point was to, let's stop for the night, and you go home and take a breath. She came back in the morning and bought the car. She was way happier. These are major life accomplishments. You have the ability to afford at this tier. You've secured one of the major needs in your life. You should be feeling a tremendous amount of pride and respect for your accomplishments. I'm just grateful that we get to celebrate it with them, that we get to be part of it in that aspect of it.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Call 1-877 Cars for Kids to reach a friendly live agent. Donation's super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
Ryan Rowland-Smith here. For more than 35 years, the NBA Health Insurance Trust has been helping local builders, contractors, and their employees save money and gain peace of mind. They offer customized group health plans from the state's leading insurance providers. Small and mid-sized businesses deserve big healthcare access. The NBA Health Trust brings you the coverage you want at a price you can trust. Find out more at MBAHealthTrust.com. That's MBAHealthTrust.com.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With the Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on SeattleSports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
The home of the Seahawks, Seattle Sports. Touchdown! Seahawks! Ken Walker III! Get everything Seahawks at SeattleSports.com.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
This Breast Cancer Awareness Month, choose care that puts you first. At Snoqualmie Valley Health, you won't wait weeks for a mammogram. Appointments are available now, just 30 minutes east of Seattle. Experience the difference with advanced 3D mammography and our new Breast Health Suite, designed for accuracy, comfort, and peace of mind. If you're 40 and older, yearly screenings are recommended, and no referral is needed if you haven't had a mammogram in the past year. Don't wait. Detect early. Schedule today at SnoqualmieValleyHealth.org.
At Bible Law Group, we understand when you've got legal problems so biblical, not even an Etsy witch can turn your court case around. With James Bible and his team by your side, don't panic when your ark is lost in divorce or when a whale swallows your defense attorney. At Bible Law Group, we've secured over $40 million in settlements for our clients, and we're ready to fight for you. When your legal problems hit biblical proportions, contact Bible Law Group and let our talented team of lawyers get to work, no matter the problem. Find us at BibleLawGroup.com.
Have you tried the dining district at the Bellevue Collection? Grab lunch with friends, meet up for happy hour, and stay for dinner and beyond. You can sample international flavors and local favorites from talented chefs. Try a new cocktail on a rooftop bar or watch the game with friends. And explore the lively nightlife scene. The dining district at the Bellevue Collection, where your taste adventure begins. Learn more at BellevueCollection.com/dining district.
This is a house of learned doctors. What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
What did we learn today?
No one's a bigger idiot than me.
Stupidity is the easiest way out.
Always learn a lot, Dave. Sometimes.
Do we?
Maybe.
Do we really learn?
I think we learned that.
If we truly learned, we wouldn't make the same mistakes and we wouldn't have this segment.
Yeah.
So
we never learn.
We never do.
All right. Well, let's figure out what we almost tried to learn today.
Well, we started off the show by learning that Dave is a wonderful gift giver.
We have to do one thing first. Today is Mike Lefkoe's birthday.
Oh.
And so Matt and I went to great lengths to get you. If you could see on the, hold it up proudly.
What did Charlie Furbush describe it as yesterday? My child snacks of Mountain Dew.
He's
and
got red vines and a Mountain Dew. And
thank you, Matt.
Matt put a nice little special bow on it. Don't say we never got you anything.
Another reason to watch the video stream.
There we
That's
go.
what we were promoting yesterday.
That's right.
You watch on YouTube, you watch on SeattleSports.com, and you see red vines and Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to see a guy who just turned 12, according to what he eats there. Mike Lefkoe. Happy birthday, man. Yeah, I mean, just the care that was put into that bow, the care and just the dedication to making that little bow.
I spent almost 5 minutes on it.
It was made out of what? A piece of paper?
It was just made out of like notebook paper, ribbon curled.
You got to admire that. That's what you use the scissors for, Dave. Not cutting the string cheese.
Yeah, well, I think you thought maybe we forgot your birthday, but we didn't.
No,
So,
I was devastated. So
It was something you would give a 12-year-old, though. Mountain Dew and red vines.
And I guess the other snacks you could have given me were also, will you give a 12-year-old string cheese?
I did give you string cheese
Or
as
cheese with wax on it. So.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't forget it was your birthday. I definitely remembered. It wasn't that Patty dropped your card off before you got here this morning that made me remember. I remembered it completely.
I thought Matt was going to say, oh, I remembered. I just gladly wasn't going to do anything for it.
Mm-hmm.
That too. I don't like it when people do things for my birthday, so I normally don't do things for most people's birthday.
No, it's fair.
I'm terrible at that. I really am. Like every year, the broadcast crew with Jen Mueller, Brian O'Connell, and Rabel, they always at Christmas time bring, and I just never do. And I'm like, I'll do it next year, and I never do. And it's not, and I feel bad accepting the gifts because I'm not a good gift giver. But
you were a great gift
giver. But we were
Thank
this
you.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think Steve or Jen would appreciate Mountain Dew and red vines as a Christmas gift? We could replicate that.
Maybe I'll just make that my gift from now on for any birthday, Christmas, New Year's, whatever. That's what you get.
It comes right from our downstairs vending area. And that's what you get.
Maybe I'll splurge and go to Costco or something and see if I can get like a 12-pack.
What about the fancy Lunchables? Everyone likes a present like that.
Sure.
Okay.
Anything like that. Anything to eat is good for you.
Get Dave a fancy Lunchable for his birthday. There we go. We got our present settled. All right, Matt, what else did we learn?
We also learned that Ray Roberts has a new definition for the huddle.
Usually on a Thursday, you guys have this guy on the huddle, but there's no huddle, so we figured, hey, we got to keep him on. We got to get him on the station on a Thursday. Ray Roberts joins us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Ray, how's it going today?
Yeah, it's going pretty good, man. Anytime there's two or more former or current football players, it's a huddle.
So we're doing a de facto version of the huddle.
So we're doing the huddle.
We had to get our Ray Roberts fix today.
I was thinking about that, though. Could two people just be a huddle?
Yeah, you just kind of hug the other guy. That's a huddle. You're huddling up.
Yeah.
Ray was fantastic. He was on fire. You know, he was making a comparison. I asked him about special teams, and he started talking about him coaching girls basketball and Tony Ventrela's granddaughter, and how. But I mean, it came together like perfectly. But at first, I was like, "Where's he going with this?" And
you thought he just went down a tangent?
No,
didn't find it.
I thought he would. I thought he would bring it home, but I was just like, "Wow, this one is going all over the place," and it was perfect. You know, he was talking about like how, you know, all of those guys on special teams, they want to be, you know, good receivers, running backs, linebackers, whatever. But they put their time in, and they know who they are. And you know, and by the way, there's a lot of really good players in the league that started off on special teams, and two of them specifically that I would mention with the Seahawks is Rufus Porter and Fred Young. Both those guys from back in my day. But, he brought that one home, and it made sense. It was great. He was really good today.
All right. Good stuff there. Yeah, thanks to Ray.
You're not going to, like, set me up. You're just going to stare?
No.
Normally, Bob,
and then
the professional host he is, will be like, what else did we learn?
Yeah.
He doesn't just stop.
I assumed that Matt, a great board op back there, while looking at me dead in the eyes, knew.
Well, and especially nobody's
next.
talking. So maybe make a move.
Maybe be a professional.
Okay.
And set it up.
Okay.
Hey, Matt, would you
What
please
next?
play the next clip so we figure out what we learned today?
Well, we learned that we're just so gosh darn lucky to work here.
I always feel kind of guilty when you make these guys work on their bye week. Like you're working, Dave. We're making you work. We're making Condotta work. But no, good insight there.
Oh, this
Bob.
isn't work to me, Mike. This is pure
thank
joy.
You. Yeah,
blissful
of course.
joy.
The most fun you're going to have
Just
this
like
week.
Matt. Matt probably feels the same way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you know,
You get to work. You get to come into work. Okay?
I think he disagrees based on that look.
I get to be locked in this windowless room with Lefko for 4 hours a day. I
Not
get
today,
the
though.
joy of that.
You don't get that for a week.
Hey, man, it's Lefko's birthday. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, Lefko. Happy birthday.
Thanks for the
Thank you
thanks
for
for the
not being
ribbon.
here for it.
You know, made up for it. So all right, one free insult per gift. So there we go. We got a few.
Matt, do you ever, if you're at like a party, or people like, he works for a sports station, let's talk sports with Matt. You ever get that?
All the time.
Yeah. And what do you say?
People think this is like a very cool, very interesting job. In reality, it is 8 hours of being in a windowless room, hearing people talk about a thing while you're furiously editing audio.
I thought you were going to say, yeah, like my friends would listen to this show.
Well, that too.
Yeah,
Here's the thing. All of my friends know, don't talk about my job. It's just not that interesting. Let's talk about something we care about.
Oh, my God. There's so many people out there listening that are just like, it's a dream job. I'd kill to have that.
You'd think that.
Matt is the wet blanket.
You'd think that.
You can express your frustration toward Matt Nelson, but yeah. All right, that was everything we learned today. I'm sorry I didn't set it up like the professional radio host that Bob Stelton is.
I'm just excited for Bob to get back.
Next time. Well, he's not going to be back for a little bit. So, yeah, Dave, you're out tomorrow. But before you are out tomorrow, we're going to catch up with Bob Condotta. He's going to help us sum up everything we've seen from the Seahawks so far this season. That's up next. Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
ESPN senior MLB insider Jeff Passan with Brock and Salk.
If you are in the Mariners front office, what are you spending your offseason focusing on?
This feels like a beginning, not an end. I see this being the beginning of the best run in the history of this franchise. The sheer number of really good prospects that the Mariners have lead me to believe that they're going to be in this position again.
Get more on the Seattle Sports YouTube page and the Seattle Sports app. This is a test of your emergency alert system.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
Are your investment dollars working as hard as they should be? You've spent years building your future. Don't let outdated advice put it at risk. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. We're a veteran-owned firm proud to bring a new standard of financial care to the Seattle area. Our nationally recognized advisors are fiduciaries, ethically bound to put your interests first. That's the highest standard of care in the industry. As a privately held company, we answer to you, our valued clients, not shareholders. For households with $500,000 or more, let us build you a customized plan. From Bellevue to Tacoma, get advice you can count on. It's time to take a fresh look at your financial plan. Call Trajan Wealth, 206-466-3300. That's 206-466-3300. Trajan Wealth. Plan smarter, dream bigger.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
When it comes to the security of your business, doubts can creep in about who you're trusting to protect it. Are they a reliable service? How will I know if something happens? Are they keeping everyone safe? At Bay Alarm, we got you. For nearly 80 years, we've been putting our customers' minds at ease with our advanced technology and personalized support. Feeling insecure about your current security service? Visit bayalarm.com today to talk to a local security expert.
This might be the most surprising statistic I've shared in decades of doing local news. More than 75% of commuters will be involved in a car accident at some point. JP Pendergast of Pendergast Law with more.
What makes it more surprising? The average person will be involved in 3 to 4 collisions in their lifetime.
With accidents unbelievably prevalent, what are some safety tips if it happens to you?
Safety first. Secondary collisions are not uncommon while awaiting help. Turn on those hazards and remain in a safe place. If a bystander witnessed the accident, capture their information and encourage them to remain at the scene. Seek medical attention immediately if needed, as delaying can be a costly mistake. Lastly, remember that statements made to police and insurance adjusters can affect your case.
Collisions are more common than we'd like to think. If you find yourself in one, follow these helpful tips and then call my friends at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one's injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
PendergastLaw.com.
Luxury has arrived at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. It's Mike Salk here. You can book now for an unforgettable experience. Let's talk about Hawks Peak. It is the place to be for game days this football season. With over 66 TVs, indoor-outdoor concept, the deck is covered and it's heated as well. And the food, oh man, it was excellent. All with breathtaking views of the Cascades and the Snoqualmie Valley. Yep, you can go to snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Help keep our community safe and healthy during National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, October 25th. Find a collection site near you at deatakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent drug misuse before it starts.
As a quarterback, you cannot run a winning play with a messy playbook. And most companies' data, well, it's a mess. AI is changing the game, but if your data is scattered, you're stuck on the sidelines. Brock Heward here, and this is where my friends at Marquee Data come in. They get your data in shape, clean, connected, ready to perform, so you can finally put AI to work for your business. Whether sales, finance, or operations, every smart move starts with the right data. So head to mydataqb.com to draw up your game-winning data play today. That's Marquee Data or mydataqb.com.
Seattle's rainy season is here. Don't wait to replace your roof. Schedule your free estimate at 3treeroofing.com and get $500 off your roofing project. Our expert team creates a custom plan for your home, ensuring a smooth, worry-free installation even in the winter months. With material prices low and lead time short, now is the best time to act. Stop throwing money at costly repairs. Protect your home this winter with a new roof from your neighbors at 3Tree Roofing. Visit 3treeroofing.com today to secure your $500 discount. 3Tree Roofing, your Puget Sound roofing experts.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Wyman and Bob.
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman here with you. The Seahawks in the midst of their bye week. No better time to kind of assess the state of this team, especially after 7 weeks, with a man who covers them every single day for the Seattle Times, does a terrific job for them. Bob Condotta joins us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Bob, how do you sum up the Seahawks team at 5-2 and on the bye week right now?
Yeah, well, I think they're in it's funny, I'm kind of writing something for Sunday, and I was looking back at the opening game against San Francisco, and I think in the immediate aftermath of that game, you were kind of concerned a little bit. I mean, they were 0-1. They'd lost a game at home. Sam Darnold, a lot of hype about his debut. He played well overall,